Chapter 1520. Opening the main gate seemed to be an extraordinary courtesy? Chu Feng was astonished. Soon, he knew how extraordinary the main gate of the Zhou clan was. Normally, the so-called gate couldn't be seen at all. It would only appear when the place was activated. The sea was vast, with golden waves rising and falling. Immortal mountains were everywhere, surrounded by white mist. There were countless beautiful sceneries, but normally, there was no such thing as a mountain gate. Now, following Zhou Yunling's orders, there was an endless rain of light between the immortal mountains. It was as if a supreme expert of the mortal world had ascended to immortality, bringing with it boundless vitality and light beams. A giant gate appeared out of thin air. There was rich ancestral Tao substance there, surging divine granules, and a sparkling rain of light sprinkled down. It was incomparably divine. "Please," Zhou Yunling said. As a great heavenly sovereign, her status wasn't inferior to that of the clan's powerhouses. Moreover, she had great potential and could attain the origin Tao fruit in the future, so her words carried a lot of weight. She and Zhou Yunxian were known as the Zhou clan's spirit and immortal prides. They were seen as powerhouses with the potential to touch the edge of the great universe realm. Now, she was leading all of this. The powerhouses and the other famous figures didn't object, and expressed their approval. Chu Feng hadn't expected that the old woman who had been the fiercest and most disdainful of him would be the most cordial to him now. He hadn't expected such a result. A rain of light sprinkled down from the giant door. Order runes constructed a golden path that rapidly spread forward. Immortal mist pervaded the air and ancestral Taoist matter evaporated. The path of light extended to Chu Feng's feet. Apart from this, there were all kinds of phenomena near the bright and wide path. For example, large golden lotuses took root in the void, and there were fiery red vermilion birds and golden heavenly dragons circling about. Great Tao fragments appeared, accompanied by chaotic fluctuations. The powerhouses stepped onto the path and motioned for Chu Feng to come up. Zhou Shi was naturally among them. She was also one of the main characters today. As for the young men and women, they were somewhat envious at first, but in the end, they were allowed to set foot on this path. Soon, Chu Feng knew why Zhou Shi's cousin was so surprised and envious. This so-called main gate actually contained great fortune. At this time, the ancestral Tao substance turned into a beam of light that illuminated everyone's bodies. It was actually baptizing everyone on this path. At the same time, the chanting of scriptures rang out, and a large number of characters bloomed, branding themselves in the void, and then falling towards the people on the road. At this moment, Chu Feng's heart was calm. He comprehended a boundless great Tao, a pure and vast heaven and earth. He seemed to have seen the heavens above. In that instant, he seemed to have comprehended the Tao, sinking into an indescribable state. Very quickly, he came back to his senses. In such a short period of time, he had actually comprehended many things. It was as if he had been in seclusion and comprehending the Tao for several years. Chu Feng, who had just recently broken through and was very close to achieving dual eternal godhood, was deeply shocked. He had been consolidating his cultivation base for years. This was terrifying. Walking through the main gate of the Zhou clan actually had such great benefits? "We won't open the door unless it's a distinguished guest from our clan," Zhou Shi explained in a low voice. Obviously, the Zhou family attached great importance to Chu Feng and treated him like an old monster at the top of the almighty realm. At this time, Zhou Yunling was no longer fierce. Although she didn't say anything to his face, she secretly expressed her apologies. This old woman had a strong personality and hated evil. When she didn't like people, she didn't hide her unkind words. But when she saw someone she liked, she was overly passionate. At this time, the other grand heavenly venerate, Zhou Yunxian, smiled and explained. She had always been gentle and kind to Chu Feng. "Zhou Yunling isn't a bad person. She has to think for our clan. You killed Taiwu, became enemies with the martial madman, offended the Yuan clan, and even fought to the death with the human King Emo clan. We are indeed under a lot of pressure to welcome you like this. She didn't need to say more. Chu Feng naturally understood the situation. He had many enemies, and they were all from powerful clans. How many people could stop a creature like the martial madman? No matter what the Zhou clan did today, he wouldn't be surprised. Moreover, the Zhou clan didn't have any evil intentions towards him. Earlier, they had even sent 2 grand heavenly venerates to see him to see how he was. Of course, he wasn't overwhelmed by the favor, so he was very calm. In this world, there was no love or hate for no reason. If he wanted to gain respect, he had to be strong enough. Otherwise, why would the Zhou clan dare to take the risk of offending a martial monarch to welcome him? Today, Chu Feng's performance was so terrifying that even the Zhou clan had opened the main gate for him. Just as he was about to step into the immortal mountain, Chu Feng hesitated. Would there be any rotting cosmos-level life forms? He didn't want to face such monsters. He trusted Zhou Shi and could see that the Zhou clan didn't have any evil intentions towards him. It could even be said that they were full of goodwill. However, he had always been wary of the old and rotting cosmos-level lifeforms. He didn't want to come into contact with them. The current him wouldn't be able to retaliate if he encountered those monsters. The gap between them was too big. It's all Li Xuanzi's fault. I originally had a supreme weapon on me that was enough to protect myself, but he stole it. Chu Feng muttered to himself. During the battle at the Soul River, Li Xuanzi had asked if there were any other emperor weapons in this world. Then, a certain long bronze piece on Chu Feng's body flew away. Afterward, it never returned. Li Xuanzi didn't return it at all. It was something Chu Feng had brought out from the Supreme Forbidden Area. It was a broken piece that had fallen from the Celestial Emperor's bronze coffin. Li Xuanzi, you stole my coffin lid. It's not difficult to return what you borrowed. Damn it! Chu Feng cursed in his heart. He was full of resentment. Although he had the stone jar on him, this thing's revival wasn't under his control. Zhou Shi blinked her large eyes and said with a mischievous smile, "Don't worry, this godlike girl will protect you." She understood Chu Feng too well. She could tell with a single glance that he had some misgivings. At the same time, she sighed inwardly. She knew that it wasn't easy for him to rush from the small nether realm to the Yang realm. To achieve so much in such a short time, he had paid a lot of blood and tears. All these years, she had been searching for Chu Feng. She had learned many things about him through inquiring and understanding. Chu Feng was speechless. This godlike girl was still far from becoming a celestial venerable, so how could she protect him? However, he naturally trusted Zhou Shi and was willing to follow her forward. Of course, Chu Feng was also confident. Although he didn't have the coffin lid fragment, he still had the means to protect himself if he was forced into a corner. Boom! Suddenly, the distant sea surface exploded. To be more precise, it was a great explosion in the void. It caused golden waves to surge and hit the sky. "Who's making things difficult for my brother?" Someone shouted loudly. Energy materials overflowed into the sky as mushroom clouds rose above the sea. The radioactive materials were so dense that they could destroy the heaven and earth. The old man had arrived. He had been following them from afar and had charged over after sensing the aura of a great battle. In addition, after the old man had descended, the strange dragon and the 3 powerhouses had also arrived. They were following from a place further away. They had already made arrangements. If they sensed something was wrong, they would come to support Chu Feng. The people of the Zhou clan were moved. A great primordial chaos expert had arrived. In addition, there were 3 powerhouses who had come together. "Old Gu, don't misunderstand," shouted Chu Feng. The surrounding people immediately understood that Chu Feng actually had so many powerhouse friends who were holding the line for him and following him from behind. In the end, the old man and the strange dragon were also invited into the Zhou clan. Behind the main gate was a flight of steps that led straight into the sky. There were many islands there, and one of them was surging with clouds and immortal mist. It was very faintly discernible. There's more than one honored guest today. There was an ancient palace on the island, and an incomparably old expert walked out to personally welcome everyone. He was a great primordial chaos expert. He was very old and his back was hunched. There was a dense aura of decay on his body, but everyone in the Zhou clan was incomparably respectful towards him. That was because this old man had lived for too long and was one of the strongest experts below the Zhou clan's great universe and ultimate existences. Why do you look a bit like an old friend of mine? The old man from the Zhou clan said, as he stared at the old man. Zhou, you're still alive? The old man was astonished. Is it really you? Just like before, unrestrained and frivolous. You brother gnawing race. The old ancestor of the Zhou clan, Zhou, stared at the old man with an unfriendly expression. The old man was immediately infuriated. It was one thing to be recognized, but he even mentioned his past preposterous matters in front of a group of juniors. Chu Feng was dumbfounded. He really wasn't wrong. The old man had been called a brother-gnawing race back then. The people of the Zhou clan were all shocked and speechless at the same time. The old ancestor dared to say anything. Wasn't this offending people? Zhou said, "Come, let me introduce you. He's the negative example I've often mentioned to you. He's that Gu Chenhai." "Zhou, you old man, you're too hateful. You actually used me as an example and ridiculed me in front of the juniors." Hateful. The old man was resentful. He had actually become a negative example. At this time, the group of elders from the Zhou clan as well as the young elites from the direct line of descent revealed strange expressions as they stared at the old man. They had long heard of his name. This prehistoric negative example had actually appeared in front of them and made them incomparably curious. The old man said angrily, "Old man, Zhou, I'm warning you, don't provoke me. My big brother Li Su appeared not long ago and is still alive. Be careful, or I'll have him tear down your sect. Do you see that?" He's still the same as before, mentioning his big brother Li Su at every turn. Zhou laughed heartily. Then, his expression became unfriendly as he said, "Where is Li Su? Tell him to come here. My clan's ancestor has always been looking for him. Was he the one who smacked the back of my ancestor's head with a brick?" This kind of secret, this kind of old grudge, was actually brought up by the Zhou clan's ancestor without restraint. The group was dumbfounded. Chu Feng was also dumbfounded. What kind of detestable thing had Li Su done? Wherever he went, there were people who wanted to beat him up. However, Chu Feng wasn't surprised. After all, he had heard this more than once. In order to practice the ultimate fist, Li Su had once been extremely daring. He had attacked the patriarchs of the clans that possessed the top 10 breathing technique. It could be said that he had eaten the heart of an immortal and the gall of a celestial emperor. Of course, after the sneak attack, those patriarchs had been searching for Li Su for a long time, wanting to beat him to death. "Tell your big brother to come. My clan's ancestor will be very happy and will personally receive him," Zhou added. The old man was a bit helpless. He guessed that Li Su wouldn't want to get close to the Zhou clan. After all, he was in the wrong and had run away after beating them up. However, after the old man's interference, Chu Feng felt that he wouldn't be afraid even if the Zhou clan's great cosmos-level entity revived. After all, Li Su's brother was here, and he was born to be a scapegoat. "Why are you looking at me?" The old man was scared. He felt that there was something wrong with Chu Feng's gaze. "He's looking at the black pot on your back," the strange dragon said. He understood Chu Feng too well and had experienced this many times. "Damn you, did I come to the wrong place?" The old man came to a realization and felt a wave of lingering fear. He prayed that the Zhou clan's prehistoric patriarch wouldn't sense anything and wake up. At that time, he would beat him up indiscriminately. That would be unjust. At this moment, the old man felt as if there was a rotten old monster staring at him from the depths of the Zhou clan's immortal mountains. It sent a chill down his spine. The Zhou clan was very polite and satisfied with Chu Feng. The strange dragon couldn't help but want to say something. Was he looking at a son-in-law? That was because all kinds of topics revolved around Chu Feng and Zhou Shi. My brother is here to borrow the soil, the old man said. He wasn't polite at all to the Zhou clan, mainly because he was provoked by Zhou Bo. Chu Feng and Zhou Shi had many things they wanted to say. The two were whispering. Ever since they parted that year, they hadn't had the chance to meet again, even though they had met on the 3 battlefields. Don't listen to his nonsense. Chu Feng didn't want the old man to continue. He had come to find Zhou Shi because he didn't see her as an outsider. He trusted her completely and wanted to understand the upcoming unification of the world of the living. He didn't want to borrow the soil from the Zhou clan. Oh, little friend, are you going to mature the medicinal tree and enter the realm of the Almighty? Isn't it too fast? This isn't good for you, and it's easy to cause big problems, said one of the Zhou clan's almighties. It should be prepared in advance, right? Asked another. It doesn't matter. No matter what, you are Zhou Shi's friend. We will support you unconditionally, said great deity Zhou Yunling with a smile. Her attitude was completely different now. Now, she was just like Zhou Yunxian, full of goodwill toward Chu Feng. Zhou Yunling secretly talked to Zhou Bo at the first moment. Then, she directly ordered people to get the almighty grade soil. Soon, someone sent over 4 portions. The old man had said that if he really wanted to break through, 3 portions would be enough. 4 portions would be foolproof, and all kinds of accidents and variables had been taken into account. The old man was very shocked. This Zhou clan was really bold and generous. He had just casually mentioned it, and the clan didn't even blink and directly sent over 4 portions of the primordial chaos soil. One had to know that the higher the test, the greater the quantity. These strategic resources were reserved for their own clan and would never be given to outsiders. Moreover, they had never been sold. Now, he had just casually mentioned it, and the clan just gave it to Chu Feng. How much did they value it? The strange dragon watched from the side and was about to drool. Chu Feng was very embarrassed. He really didn't want to ask for the rare primordial chaos soil when he came to visit this time. Zhou Shi said softly, "It's fine. Quickly put it away. If it's not enough, ask my old ancestor for more." The Zhou clan was speechless. Was this child being raised by someone else? How could she say that? Chu Feng didn't act pretentious. He really did need the almighty grade soil. Then, he took out a suet jade bottle and gave it to Zhou Shi. This is good stuff. I almost became a true dragon after eating it. Long Yu said from the side. He had almost blurted out that he had almost become a maggot. What's this? Zhou Shi's cousins were curious and secretly urged her to take a look. Zhou Shi and Chu Feng didn't treat each other as outsiders, so there was nothing to be embarrassed about. She didn't feel that it was rude to open it in front of her own people. She opened the suet jade bottle. This is a bloodline fruit. At this moment, even the Zhou clan's old ancestor, that great expert of the primordial chaos realm, Zhou Bo, was astonished. Brilliant divine light shot out of his eyes. What? It's actually a bloodline fruit that can raise the strongest bloodline by a large margin and reach the purity of first ancestors' true blood? The other people of the Zhou clan were also moved. This thing was too rare. If they had a choice, they would rather give up the mutant soil of the primordial chaos realm to obtain the bloodline fruit. That was because, as the 6th orthodoxy, although the almighty grade mutant soil wasn't abundant and was considered a strategic resource, it could be accumulated and found. However, the bloodline fruit was different. There were no more than 3 of them in the world, and almost all of them had disappeared and couldn't be found anymore. At this moment, the Zhou clan's people looked at Chu Feng more and more kindly and pleasing to the eye. Not bad, Zhou, she didn't misjudge you. Zhou Yunling smiled amiably. Compared to her previous sharp temperament, it was as if she was a completely different person. Chu Feng's purpose in coming to the Zhou clan was to understand the general trend of the future. He wanted to know the result of the confrontation between the supreme beings in the sky and how the world of the living would be unified. Yes, the world of the living is about to be unified. This is an irreversible trend. All the races will discuss it together, and there might even be violent, bloody conflicts to choose an emperor. It might be the one from Yong Prefecture or the one from He Prefecture. The Zhou clan didn't hide anything and directly informed him of the situation. Qi. At this moment, another decree fell from the sky and landed in the Zhou clan's ancestral hall in the depths of the Celestial Mountain. I feel that something even bigger has happened. Zhou Bo's expression changed. Boom. Suddenly, heaven and earth shook violently. Even the celestial mountain of the Zhou clan was rumbling and shaking violently. The floating island in the sky trembled as if it was about to fall. Oh no, something big has happened. In the distance, a cry of alarm came from a golden palace that was in charge of monitoring all parts of the world of the living. What happened? Zhou Bo shouted. The great world barrier of the Yang realm has been broken through. A realm war is about to break out. What? Could it be that not only the world of the living has been unified, but the heavens have also been unified? The expressions of the elders of the Zhou clan changed. They realized that the situation had worsened to an unimaginable extent. An unprecedented disaster had arrived in this era. Chapter 1521. What kind of creature was this? It actually penetrated the barrier of the Yang realm world. It was so terrifying that it made people tremble in fear. This creature must have had great achievements. If it intentionally targeted some ancient orthodoxies in the Yang realm and carried out a targeted extermination, it would be terrifying. Everyone in the Zhou clan was horrified. Even some old monsters couldn't sit still. On the floating island, there was an ancient mirror hanging in the golden palace hall. It was sparkling and shining as it monitored the Yang realm. It transmitted a blurry scene over and reflected it in the void. A large pitch-black hand directly swung over, scattering the primal chaos, penetrating the realm wall and appearing in the Yang realm. There, the runes of order were concentrated. The patterns of the large black hand reflected the mountains, rivers, sun, and moon. It was too grand and boundless. It could simply destroy the world. Kacha. The Zhou clan's precious mirror shattered into pieces and could no longer reflect the scene in the Yang realm's realm wall. The realm war is about to arrive. All the order in this world will be overthrown. The most dangerous and terrifying era has suddenly arrived. Even my clan might be destroyed. Zhou Bo said with a trembling voice. The great calamity had arrived. This was an incomparably terrifying, chaotic world. The era of bloodshed had arrived. At this time, Chu Feng already understood what the decree the Zhou clan had received was. There was only a simple line of words: great unification, a ray of hope. Was this a revelation from a supreme being? That was why the Yang realm was in chaos not long ago. They were all discussing how to unify the Yang realm. But now, it seemed that the so-called Great Unification involved the myriad worlds and not just a single region. This was terrifying. Even ultimate existences might be wiped out. There wouldn't be many left. If the heavens were to truly bleed and the worlds were to fight, the so-called immortal inheritances and ultimate orthodoxies wouldn't count for anything. They would all be crippled and 90% would be flattened. This is a conspiracy, not a natural disaster. Why do we have to be unified? Isn't the current situation good? An aged powerhouse spoke with a trembling voice. His entire body was filled with the aura of decay. He didn't have many years left to live. He wasn't thinking for himself, but for the Zhou clan and the younger generation. Silence! Zhou Bo scolded in a low voice. He couldn't help but look up at the sky. The large hole hadn't disappeared yet. The 3 emperor weapons and the sacrificial image were still there, still in confrontation. Let's see what's written in the new decree from the ancestral hall, Zhou Yunxian said. Just now, another decree flew over from the huge hole in the sky and landed in the ancestral hall of the Zhou clan. In reality, it wasn't just the Zhou clan. The top-ranked ancient orthodoxies had also received the latest decree. In the distance, that ancient palace floated in the void. There were several even more ancient experts overseeing it. They were all ancestor-level existences in the history of the Zhou clan. They had decayed and declined, almost losing their human forms. However, they were all struggling to survive, all for the sake of increasing the Zhou clan's heritage and protecting the clan. These people used to be clan leaders. Although they weren't at the peak of the family pyramid and weren't at the great universe level, they were still shocking. Even the weakest among them was stronger than Zhou Bo. At this moment, someone sighed and said, "The great chaos has arrived. Is this the final ray of hope, or is it the final madness to harvest all the realms? Is there any other choice? At the very least, we can delay the destruction and let the various races live for a few more years. There's no other choice. Otherwise, once the sacrificial ground descends and we don't surrender, the entire clan will be wiped out." But I still feel uneasy. The entity behind the three emperor weapons united the Yang realm and the heavens. Is it really protecting us? These old monsters knew the core secrets of the Zhou clan. They knew even more than the decaying great universe beings who lived in seclusion. After all, they were the clan leaders of the Zhou clan. They had been in charge for many years. It won't necessarily turn into a bloody battle between the heavens. Isn't this a sign? The various races can negotiate calmly. If they take a step back, they might be able to stop the war. But who among the truly powerful races with ancient and complete inheritances in the great world would lower their heads? After living to this extent, who doesn't know that the more chaotic the world is, the stronger the experts will be? Those who lower their heads first are destined to be reduced to ashes. The so-called ray of hope is prepared for the strongest realm. An old man with half his body rotting sighed. He had been at the great origin chaos level for many eras and was about to become an expert with the eternal title. He was incomparably powerful. Let's talk first. If we can stop the war, it's better than dyeing the heavens with blood. Although our Zhou clan is ranked in the top few in the Yang realm, there are too many opponents in all the realms. It makes one feel deeply anxious. At the same time, they were also staring at an ancient mirror. It was even more simple and unadorned than the cracked one in the golden ancient palace. They saw a blurry scene. They stared at the broken realm wall and guessed which realm had taken action. The fallen immortal royal clan is truly powerful. They were the first to lose control. Do they want to rule the myriad realms? Although it's their clan's method, the gap there doesn't seem to be connected to the fallen immortal world. It's the world they're supporting. The fallen immortal royal clan is responsible for breaking through the realm wall and letting the creatures of that realm cross over. In the end, they discussed in secret. What they saw, as well as the runes on the decree, were reflected in front of all the famous figures of the Zhou clan. The general gist of the decree was that the heavens were unified, seeking life in death, and there was hope for a glimmer of hope. After Zhou Bo, Zhou Yunxian, and the others saw this, their expressions suddenly changed. Seeking life in death? Just how serious was this? Just how much had the situation deteriorated? Chu Feng and the old man's expressions also changed. At this moment, they all had a premonition that a reign of terror and a storm of blood had arrived. The world's shocking changes had truly begun. The fallen immortal royal clan is extremely powerful and terrifying. They've appeared again. The great realm supported by this clan was the first to rise in revolt, and they were even directly targeting the Yang realm. Zhou Yunling's expression was also unsightly. It was clear that this kind of undying inheritance, a clan ranked at the very top in the Yang realm, understood many astonishing ancient secrets that far exceeded the imagination of the people of the world. If there is a bloody battle, the first battle will definitely be against the fallen immortal royal clan. It's an incomparably terrifying clan right from the start. It's too terrifying. At this moment, a powerhouse was full of worry. Even the Zhou clan was worried, so one could well imagine how serious the problem was. The old man didn't say anything. The atmosphere here was heavy. Chu Feng was also uneasy. There was going to be a great battle in the Yang realm, and that so-called fallen immortal royal clan was definitely the great evil spirit race. There's nothing to be afraid of. Even though they're called the fallen immortal royal clan, do you all really think they're all immortals? Wouldn't that be too absurd? An elder spoke. Now, they were discussing in the palace, none of them hiding from Chu Feng and the old man. It was because these things were about to spread through the Yang realm, and the fallen immortal royal clan would become the common enemy of the world. Zhou Bo opened his mouth and said, "What are you nervous about? What are you scared of? What fallen immortal royal clan? It's not like they haven't been killed before, and the ones they killed were all true immortals, not creatures with empty reputations." He actually spoke of this type of secret, shocking everyone. Even the old man was greatly shaken. Chu Feng was even more astonished. The Zhou clan's resources were too terrifying. They had killed a few true immortals before? Don't think that the fallen immortal royal clan is that amazing. It's not like we can't defeat them. Back then, during the immortal expedition, my Zhou clan was also a powerful main force, Zhou Bo said to boost morale. At this time, Chu Feng suddenly thought of some old matters. The Yang realm's ancestors had fought against the immortal clan before, and then that battlefield was broken. Now, it seemed like it was a bloody battle against the fallen immortal royal clan. This was a confrontation between different systems and different branches of evolution, but there had to be other secrets behind it. How did the immortal clan become the fallen immortal royal clan? Chu Feng understood a bit from the Dog Emperor, Nine Dowie, and the Rotten Corpse's words. The path had already been cut off, and the former glory had fallen into darkness. Were there still true immortal clans? Almost all of them had become fallen immortal royal clans. Was this part of the truth that was sticky with blood? Our Zhou clan's ancestor, once he achieved the cosmic body and reached the ultimate realm, he would take the initiative to kill immortals. Let me ask you, who among the Radiants hadn't killed a fallen true immortal? This was the style of the past. Zhou Bo tried to speak as casually as possible. Otherwise, if his family's morale fell before the battle even started, it would definitely be incomparably terrible. Some of what he said was true, but some were naturally exaggerated. The Zhou clan's ancestor had killed a true immortal before, this was true, but it wasn't something that could be done just by stepping into the cosmic body. One had to reach the mid to late stages to be able to do so. The rotten cosmic body couldn't fight against a true immortal. Of course, the Zhou clan's former ultimate experts and the cosmic body that had endured through the endless years were indeed ridiculously powerful. They had indeed killed a true immortal in the past. However, how many races could compare to the Zhou clan? After all, they were ranked among the strongest orthodoxies and had grasped one of the most powerful breathing techniques of this evolutionary civilization. How could they not be brilliant? Killed a true immortal? Our clan is so powerful, but what about the living ancestor? He can also do this, right? Everyone present was incomparably excited, their blood surging. Of course, our clan's ultimate experts have no problem killing a true immortal. Zhou Bo was proud and full of confidence in his clan's ancestor. Then, he added, there's no harm in telling you. Our clan even has an ancestor who killed a true immortal in the past. He's still alive now. This shocked everyone, and then they became excited and their morale soared. So what if the apocalypse had arrived? Some of the Zhou clan's prehistoric ancestors were still alive. These people were definitely supreme experts who had experienced the trials of blood and fire. The Zhou clan's confidence immediately exploded. Not bad, old Zhou. You've ignited our clan's glorious faith with just a few words, said the old man. Zhou Bo shot him a glance. You're a negative example, a living failure case. Don't speak anymore. I'm afraid you'll lead our clan's elites astray. Then, he added, speaking in a meaningful and heartfelt manner, saying, learn from your older brother. Even though he is black-hearted and ruthless, not some good person, he is indeed quite strong. Back then, he was also someone who killed a true immortal. Even the old man didn't know about Li Su's accomplishments, and this left him in a daze. But he quickly came back to his senses. Zhou Bo was scolding him, once again calling him a negative example. The old man's nose almost became crooked from anger. How did I fail? Look at you. You've lived for so long, yet you're only a great origin immortal. I'm also an expert at this level. At this time, a bronze pagoda in the distance suddenly lit up. Zhou Bo's expression changed, because he knew that this was the communication tower of the strongest races in the Yang realm. Apparently, the Buddhist race, Hung race, and Ji race wanted to have a secret discussion with the Zhou clan. Zhou Bo quickly walked into the bronze pagoda, and the old monsters of the strongest races appeared inside. They all knew each other and were all very serious as they quickly began to discuss in secret. The fallen immortal royal race borrowed the way and supported another great world. Their first choice was to attack our Yang realm. Their malice is strong, and this will be a war of world destruction. There's no way it will end peacefully. We won't rest until one side is dead. Let's fight! We must fight, and we must kill until the true immortal's blood dyed the sky red and immortal corpses littered the ground. Otherwise, we will never be able to stop this war. The races of the Yang realm were unexpectedly powerful. These old fellows' tempers seemed to be exceptionally great, and they almost wanted to start an all-out war as soon as they started talking, shouting that they wanted to kill immortals. This was because they knew that the fallen immortal royal race was too terrifying. This evolved civilization used to be so resplendent that it was shocking, illuminating the myriad worlds. They had to fight to the end against this race that had clearly fallen and were no longer true immortals. According to the records, as long as the Yang realm retreated slightly, they would become even more ferocious and launch an all-out invasion. We can't be weak against this race, or else the consequences will be dire. Only by killing can we stop this war and beat them until they feel pain and fear. Only then can the blood and chaos be quelled. It would be best if we can kill a true fallen immortal king. Hiss. Even some of the old monsters who were discussing sucked in a breath of cold air. They always felt that the Li clan's old fellow was unreliable. He was already shouting that he wanted to kill a fallen immortal king. This pro-war faction was too powerful. We should pray that there are no more immortal kings left alive. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. What are we afraid of? Our ancestors had killed true immortals and even used methods to make a fallen immortal king fall. As their descendants, how can we weaken our ancestors' reputation? We'll just kill them. Damn you, it's good that you shouldn't be weak, but it's also a big problem for you to be this excited. The old monsters were all silently cursing. However, when the most powerful races were discussing, an unforeseen event happened in the Yang realm. Rumble. The large hole in the realm wall fiercely expanded, as if an unrivaled creature was opening it up. It wanted to completely connect the two realms and merge them into one. At this time, a terrifying voice rang out, spreading to all parts of the Yang realm. Wu, we are originally from the same source, so why is there a need for blood and chaos? Even though we have been humiliated as fallen immortal royal race, we have never forgotten who we are. The opening of the realm this time is not for the sake of breaking through, not for the sake of weapons, not for the sake of blood and tears. We only wish to sit down and discuss with the various races. Who was this? A creature from the fallen immortal royal race was speaking? He actually said this type of thing. Chapter 1522. A stalk that blooms 3 flowers originally belonged to the same family. We have never forgotten who we were, yet we are always misunderstood by our homeland. It is the most lamentable. At the place where the realm wall of the Yang realm was penetrated, that creature was actually incomparably sentimental. It was filled with melancholy and made people feel an extremely desolate situation. All the living beings in the Yang realm were shocked. Even some old monsters were frowning. As for fallen immortal king clans, more than 90% of the great clans didn't know much about them, but like Zhou clan, Li clan, Dao clan, and others, they naturally knew about their root. They were indeed the same species. In fact, it could even be said that the celestial race had once been extremely brilliant. Their glory could be traced back to the celestial emperor, and they were once the orthodox race. However, they were contaminated, completely mutated. Their flesh rotted, and then they completely fell, walking towards a boundless abyss, becoming enemies from then on. Now, one of the fallen experts among them actually spoke like this, feeling sentimental about his past, his expression extremely sorrowful. It truly left others feeling endlessly shocked. Sigh. 1,000 years from now, who knows if there will still be people from my clan who will remember that we were originally of the same root and origin, but in this life we are killing each other. Right now, there are some people in our clan who have truly awakened, even producing antibodies. Many of our clansmen are returning, comprehending their past and present lives. The fallen immortal king clan, this name that is filled with blood and sin, makes us feel as if blades are twisting in our hearts. Was this real or fake? The awakening of the fallen immortal royal clan, did they really comprehend it? Of course, as long as there's light in this world, there's darkness. Even 10 suns can't illuminate every corner of the world. Some of our clansmen fell very far into the abyss and couldn't come back. But we don't want to wage war against the Yang realm. Following the creature's narration, everyone learned a few things. The fallen immortal king clan was divided. There were some who were willing to reconcile with the Yang realm and no longer be enemies. Meanwhile, there were some fallen true immortals who fell even further into an even more terrifying abyss, unable to turn back anymore. They insisted on fighting. Especially this time, when the heavens were unified and they sought life in the midst of death, the fallen beings that walked the extreme path couldn't bear it any longer. They wanted to fight the Yang realm to the death and destroy this realm. Bring it on, who is scared of who? In the past, which family hasn't killed a true immortal? Any monster that has a bit of fame and wants to rise up has to be killed. Otherwise, I won't be able to face anyone. The Li clan's old man shouted. He really wasn't afraid at all. All over the Yang realm, many evolvers were dumbfounded. What kind of freakish era was that? The experts of the various races loved to fight and took pride in killing perfected immortals. Many people were stunned and quite shocked. Was the lost past of the Yang realm actually so powerful? The fallen immortal royal race was viewed as prey, with their heads on the line. At the realm wall, that creature said with a sigh, "We are willing to fight again, especially with the current situation. We are seeking life in death and fighting for a chance of survival. Why bother with internal strife?" Li clan's elder said, "I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the creatures that have completely fallen into the abyss and can't turn back. Let them come as they please. This old man also wants to imitate my ancestor and kill a few." "Shut up, old manly." Even some of the old monsters in the Yang realm couldn't stand it anymore and told him to stop. At this stage, no one was willing to fight to the death if they didn't have to. That way, many living beings would bleed to death. On the realm wall, that creature was extremely indistinct, but he could see that it was humanoid. He spoke again, saying, "I hope that we can stop here. You and I who are of the same origin will no longer have blood and chaos." "Is what you said true?" An elder from the Buddha clan couldn't hold himself back anymore. His white brows were extremely long. His body appeared in the void as if an ancient Buddha walked over from the distant past. There were symbols all around him that resonated with the 10,000 Tao. Ultimate creature. The Buddha clan's backing was terrifyingly deep after all. At this stage, there was an ultimate level creature that directly revived and spoke with the fallen immortal king clan. Of course it's true. That creature at the realm wall spoke. However, he then said in a low voice, however, there are some issues that need to be resolved. Some of my clan's true immortals have fallen into the abyss forever, unable to recover. They need to be suppressed. And these words shocked all of the great clans in the Yang realm. The fallen immortal king clan wanted to draw powerful reinforcements to kill another group of true immortals. They actually drew the experts of the Yang realm to take action and deal with their clansmen that had fallen into the abyss. Was this truly a complete break with those true immortals? Quite a few experts from the various clans of the Yang realm were overjoyed. Weakening the fallen immortal king clan was definitely correct and the general trend. How are we going to suppress them? The Buddha clan elder spoke. His skills were profound, and there were special golden symbols in front and behind him that formed a monastic robe that hid the heavens and covered the earth. This monastic robe gently trembled as if it could suppress the world. Enter the abyss. The creature at the realm wall spoke from within the mist. The expressions of many people in all parts of the Yang realm immediately changed. Was this still considered sincerity? If the ultimate experts of the Yang realm entered the region where the fallen immortal king clan resided, what guarantee of survival would there be? This was most likely just throwing their lives away. What was the meaning of this? Were they toying with the evolvers of the Yang realm? The creatures of all clans were silent at this time, their expressions unsightly. Everything I said is true. Please look, the abyss has joined my body. At the realm wall, in front of the large hole, a rumbling sound rang out. The mist exploded, and it immediately became clear. That creature was humanoid and carried an immortal Tao aura, but there was also an abyss-like demonic nature. It was a very contradictory individual. He looked like a middle-aged man, but he gave off an incomparably ancient feeling, as if he had coexisted with heaven and earth for endless years. At the very least, he was a fallen true immortal. Suddenly, an unforeseen event occurred. An abyss appeared behind him. At the same time, his body split apart, and an indistinct figure struggled free from his flesh and blood. It was dark and inauspicious, formed from symbols, and it merged with that abyss. This scene was extremely terrifying. What kind of situation was he in exactly? His body was bleeding, as if he had been split into two. A portion of the symbols that struggled free from his body merged with that black abyss, and even though his physical body had split apart, he was still alive and hadn't died. He was still speaking. Do you see? This is the abyss, help me suppress it. This was like a silkworm transformation, but it was different. A silkworm cocoon had hatched into two creatures. One was in the split physical body, and the other merged with the abyss behind him. That cocoon, or rather, that physical body, was continuously bleeding. It looked extremely terrifying. All the experts of the Yang realm were horrified and stunned. The condition of this creature made them feel that it was strange. Is this what you meant when you said that you have no intention of becoming enemies with us? The old man from the Li clan couldn't hold it in anymore. His anger surged and he said, "This is clearly a challenge, a provocation. If you want to fight, why don't you be a bit more direct?" Some people felt the same way and felt that they had been toyed with. In the end, they still had to fight against this creature. No, I've truly awakened and recovered everything from my past life. However, there is an abyss attached to my body, so I ask the experts of the Yang realm to suppress it. The fallen expert whose body was almost split into two spoke. Heh heh. Behind him, a cold laugh sounded from the abyss. That indistinct figure formed from symbols had a terrifying demonic nature. It made many evolvers in the Yang realm feel like their heads were splitting apart when they heard it. It was as if they were cursed. This was extremely strange. Two creatures were born from one body? Everyone was shocked. There was confusion, bewilderment, and doubt. Was it really as he said, that he needed someone to suppress the abyss connected to him? What was going on? Some people didn't believe it at all, believing that the fallen immortal king race was looking down on the Yang realm and purposely acting like this. In reality, they were humiliating all evolvers. There were also some people who suspected that perhaps what this fallen expert said wasn't false. He was indeed one body with two sides. He recalled his past life, but there was also a dark expert who fell into the abyss in his flesh. Don't tell me that some of the so-called fallen immortal king races people have awakened like you? That ultimate creature from the Buddha clan spoke. It is indeed like this. That creature didn't hide anything, replying like this. Then what are you still saying? Let's fight. The ultimate creature from the Yang realm couldn't hold himself back anymore, feeling more and more that the fallen immortal king race was bullying others intolerably. Please listen to me, I truly carry sincerity, asking you all to suppress and kill him. I will naturally stand together with you all. Now, I am imprisoned by the abyss, often not free. That creature spoke extremely seriously. However, his flesh was split in half, dripping with blood, looking extremely sinister and terrifying, making one shiver with fear. Was this real or fake? It could actually be like this? In that instant, many people in the Yang realm lost confidence. Where the heart is, the abyss is. One must destroy the heart. In the Yang realm, someone spoke. I will go suppress it. The Buddha clan's expert moved, directly hurrying over, wishing to give this fallen immortal king race creature a try. The world was greatly shaken. It was because that was a fallen true immortal, unimaginably powerful. Could the Buddha clan's ultimate creature deal with it? After so many years, the great evil spirit has finally appeared again. There is nothing left to say, just kill it. In the Yang realm, in some places, an ancient creature said softly. That Buddha clan expert's movements were extremely fast. After taking a step out, mountains and rivers flowed in reverse, crossing heaven and earth, passing through the endless void, arriving in front of the realm wall. Come, kill my true body, fill up the fallen abyss. That creature spoke. The two halves of his flesh released brilliance, unexpectedly having the sound of iron chains. Upon closer inspection, he was locked up, his cracked body bound in front of the abyss. Meanwhile, in the abyss, that indistinct body formed from symbols was laughing, his teeth extremely white, but it gave one a horrifying feeling. There were symbols all around his body, all of them whispering, immediately making countless evolvers from all over the Yang realm feel like their heads were splitting apart again. They were being attacked indiscriminately by a fallen true immortal. Fortunately, the Buddha clan's expert arrived. A monastic robe covered forward, blocking all of the darkness Tao patterns, suppressing this creature. In that instant, the whispering sounds disappeared, the terrifying fluctuations that corroded many evolvers scattering. The monastic robe was constructed from golden symbols, covering the abyss. Divine radiance illuminated everything, as if it was purifying everything. They actually started fighting just like this. In the Yang realm, within the Zhou clan's palace, the old man sighed. He didn't expect things to develop to this step today. Chu Feng was also moved. The changes in the situation were unimaginable. A fallen immortal king came, one body with two sides, triggering the ultimate creature of the Yang realm to take action. Hong! A streak of dazzling radiance erupted. That monastic robe actually instantly ignited, and then it turned into ashes, burned away by a wave of black flames. This exceeded everyone's expectations. There was actually already a result after just exchanging blows? Then, that abyss released raging flames, incomparably pitch black, strange and terrifying, directly devouring that Buddha clan ultimate expert. The Buddha clan expert released a low roar, but he couldn't struggle free. His entire body was drowned in black flames, sinking into the abyss, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The Yang realm was speechless. What kind of creature was that? An exceptional expert rarely seen since ancient times, yet he was actually defeated after just exchanging blows? Heaven and earth darkened, the sun, moon, and stars all disappearing. The Yang realm became dusky. An ultimate creature was actually directly devoured. Just how terrifying was that fallen true immortal? It was to the extent where many people's minds were shaken, wondering if that was still a fallen true immortal. It couldn't be a fallen immortal king, right? Right at this time, the large hole in the sky dome gradually closed. The primal chaos mace, myriad tribulations mirror, and reincarnation lamp, these three artifacts all disappeared. The sacrificial ground also disappeared at this time, disappearing just like that. A voice was disappearing into the distance, seeking life in death. There is only a sliver of life. The main sacrifice and the creature behind the three artifacts retreated at the same time. It was dusky right now, as if everything was rushing together. People couldn't see the direction clearly, and even the ultimate creature felt bewildered. There was fear in their hearts. What should they do next? Where the heart is, the abyss is. Please come and kill me. Over at the realm wall, the fallen expert spoke again. However, the experts of all clans in the Yang realm became cautious, their expressions grave. Who could kill him? The Buddha clan's expert was already quite strong, but he was devoured in the blink of an eye, making people feel suffocated. My Li clan is fearless. The Li clan's old monster was furious. Previously, his temper was also the worst. However, at this time, a large rain of light rose from Harmony Province's direction. One person moved first. The Feather Emperor? Someone cried out in surprise. At this moment, even though he was in the Zhou clan, Chu Feng's expression couldn't help but change. He looked through a crystal wall of the Zhou clan and saw the powerful figure in the rain of light. Chu Feng naturally knew that person. He was suspected to be the person Qin Luoyin liked in her previous life. He was actually an ultimate expert? Chu Feng was moved. He had always thought that the Feather Emperor was a quasi-ultimate expert, but he didn't expect that this expert who rose after the martial madman and Li Su had already stood at the peak of the Yang realm. It was no wonder that during the three-way battle, he quickly defeated the overlord of the southern province and wanted to unify the Yang realm. At this time, on a mountain peak in the Yang realm, a woman of exceptional beauty gazed at the sky and saw the powerful Feather Emperor traversing through the sky. She was precisely Qin Luoyin. As someone in the Yang realm, she naturally sensed such a great event happening today. Can the Feather Emperor kill an expert from the fallen immortal royal race? Some people were muttering in some places in the Yang realm. If he can't be killed, how can he unify the Yang realm? He is someone who is determined to become a celestial emperor, an old monster said. However, there were also people who shook their heads and said, there's naturally no need to say more about how powerful the Emperor of you is. However, if the lineage of Harmony wants to unify the world of the living, it might not necessarily be the Emperor of you who will reign supreme in the end. The waters of this lineage run very deep. The Feather Emperor set out, millions and millions of strands of divine radiance scattering down like a rain of light. It was incomparably divine, illuminating most of the heavens. It truly was as if he had ascended to become an immortal, illuminating the world. He pierced through the primal chaos and rushed towards the realm wall. Old Gu couldn't bear it any longer and said, "Today was supposed to be the day for us brothers to shine. I didn't expect such a big thing to happen. I feel like the limelight has been stolen by someone else." Old Gu was not convinced. "Aren't we going to do something big?" Chu Feng was speechless. He was relatively calm. He had even crossed the Soul River. Although the world did not know its might, he was still quite confident. However, for some unknown reason, he felt slightly uneasy at this moment. Was something going to happen? Was there going to be a drastic change? Chu Feng was seriously doubting it. Something's wrong. What kind of situation is this? I keep on feeling like something big is going to happen. It's related to a great deal. The strange dragon spoke, his face full of seriousness and alarm. It was to the extent where even his scalp was a bit numb. Old Gu suddenly raised his head. He felt like his scalp was going to explode. Just what kind of unforeseen event was going to happen? It was to the extent where a few old monsters from the Zhou clan were also horrified. They felt intense uneasiness in their heart. As a result, the Feather Emperor hurried over to the realm wall. A rain of light scattered down, divine to the extreme. He was extremely powerful. Resplendent great Tao symbols appeared beneath his feet, as if a celestial emperor had descended into the world. Boom! Without any words, he pressed down towards the abyss with a single hand, covering the darkness. Chapter 15:23. There's a situation. I sense a strong malice. Some bastard dog wants to target me. The old man spoke with an ugly expression. Then, he looked at an old acquaintance. It was the great Origin Realm expert from the Zhou clan who had mocked him again and again. Zhou Bo, what do you mean? Zhou Bo emitted a decaying aura as he looked at the old man with narrowed eyes. He saw the old man staring at him and felt rather hurt. That was because he wasn't in the mood to pay attention to such things. Old Zhou, what do you want? Don't tell me you want to deal with me too? The strange dragon spoke. Then, he happily revealed his identity and told him who he was. You're that little dragon. How did you become a maggot? Zhou Bo was astonished. You. The strange dragon almost coughed up a mouthful of blood. Zhou Bo's identity was that of a great Origin Realm expert who was about to touch the domain of the universe. Naturally, he could see through the dragon's true form. Therefore, he had mistaken the dragon's true form as a worm. In a flash, the strange dragon bristled. Damn it, you're the maggot. Your whole family is. Of course, he didn't dare to shout out. What kind of status did Zhou Bo's family have? They were the 6th orthodoxy in the Yang realm and a famous glorious family. They had no lack of decaying existences of the universe and were overseen by ultimate experts. If he really shouted out, he would be in big trouble. Divine silkworm, look clearly, I've already surpassed the heavenly dragon. The strange dragon angrily corrected him. Zhou Bo had a strange expression. This dragon had already become a worm, yet he still had the nerve to say he had surpassed them? Fortunately, he didn't provoke Long Yu again. Boom! At this time, a shocking change occurred at the boundary of the Yang realm. Terrifying energy fluctuations spread out as boundless great Tao runes spread out. The ultimate existences there were fiercely colliding. The Feather Emperor was peerless and truly terrifying. After the large hand slapped over, it covered the abyss and illuminated the void, turning the darkness into light. One could see that at the bottom of the abyss, the old monk seemed to have passed away in meditation and was burning in the black flames. Rumble! The Feather Emperor's large hand pressed down, wanting to fish the ultimate expert out from the abyss. Don't touch him, he can't do it anymore. The fallen true immortal sighed. He was one body with two sides. The radiant immortal body was split in half and bound to the side of the abyss, reminding the divine and powerful Feather Emperor within the reign of light. His dark side oversaw the abyss, cold and emotionless. It was currently emitting a terrifying aura to refine the old monk. Buzz. The void trembled violently. The Feather Emperor advanced, his true body closing in on the abyss. His large hand also reached in at an even faster speed. However, it was all too late. Even someone as strong as the old man from the Buddha race, who could look down on the entire world, was turned into ashes in the end. Moreover, at this time, the abyss expanded, about to swallow up the Feather Emperor. Countless people in the Yang realm cried out in alarm, especially the Buddhist race. They didn't even have their final thoughts anymore. That ultimate expert of their race actually passed away in meditation, completely devoured by the abyss. Feather Emperor! At this time, many people cried out in alarm. Even he was about to fall in. Countless people were paying attention, and countless experts were getting nervous. In Harmony Province, there was a creature sitting cross-legged on a famous mountain that no one dared to approach. He stared at the boundary wall of the Yang realm through the void. His aura was incomparably powerful. At this moment, even the former overlord of Harmony Prefecture was standing with his hands by his side, like a child standing behind this person. Who was the overlord of Yongzhou? Back then, he was one of the leaders of the three-way war. It was only after his sect elder, the Feather Emperor, revived and appeared that he retreated. This group of people could be said to be astonishingly powerful. As for exactly what kind of monsters were alive, the outside world had no way of guessing. There was no doubt that they were absolutely terrifying and had the confidence to aspire to the top of the world. Otherwise, why would the overlord of Harmony Prefecture and then the Feather Emperor dare to take action and unify the Yang realm? Not good. On this mountain, in a place even further away, there was another youngster who cried out in alarm. It was because he saw the scene of the Feather Emperor being swallowed by the abyss. This youngster had an imposing appearance and outstanding talent. One could tell with a single glance that he wasn't an ordinary person. His innate talents were exceptional. If Chu Feng was here, he would definitely be bewildered. Back then, he used his pure physical body to sneak through reincarnation. When he first arrived in the Yang realm, he had left behind karma, causing a certain 9-orifice stone core to give birth to a creature ahead of time. This youngster was De Kong. He was originally an immortal fetus within the 9-orifice stone core. After he was born, he was ultimately accepted as a disciple by Harmony Prefecture. "It's fine." The only creature sitting on the mountain peak spoke. It was extremely unreal, indistinct, and illusory. Even the overlord of Harmony Prefecture was only a child at his side. At this moment, the moment he opened his mouth, he spoke the truth. Dao sounds rumbled and laws appeared in the area. Immortal ripples flowed through the void. "The Yang realm shall be unified by our bloodline." He spoke once again. It was very light, but it was as if the characters of the immortal Dao were engraved between heaven and earth, becoming a decree. Ah! In the extreme north of the Yang realm, the martial madman seemed to have sensed something. He opened his eyes and muttered to himself, as expected, "The monster of this bloodline is still alive." At the same time, at a certain source of darkness in the underground world, someone was also muttering, "No wonder Harmony Prefecture has the confidence to establish a celestial emperor. There's actually such an ancient existence." From this, it could be seen how powerful this bloodline was. At this moment, it could be said that everyone's attention was focused on the Feather Emperor. Qin Luoyin was also staring at the scene reflected on the surface of the mirror. "Oh no, the Feather Emperor has also fallen into the abyss," someone cried out in alarm. At the realm wall, the dark abyss expanded, extinguishing the boundless divine rain of light and swallowing the Feather Emperor. Everyone was greatly shaken. Another supreme expert from the Yang realm, known as a legend among legends, the Feather Emperor who had never been defeated, had actually suffered a calamity. "It's a conspiracy." In a split second, some evolvers cried out loudly. They believed that the fallen Immortal King was playing tricks and that it wasn't a so-called fair fight at all. Moreover, they couldn't even talk about asking someone to help them suppress the dark side. There's no need to even think about it. This isn't a fallen true immortal. It should be a fallen Immortal King. Someone said with a trembling voice, shouting that it was unfair. How shameful! The fallen Immortal King is too despicable. Some people were resentful and emotional. However, the ultimate creatures from the Yang realm were silent. How powerful were they? They could clearly sense that this wasn't a fallen Immortal King. Don't worry, the Feather Emperor hasn't been defeated yet. He only entered the abyss on his own initiative. Who knows, he might kill his way out in a while. Someone said. Sure enough, the abyss was flickering indeterminately. A rain of light surged, and the figure of the Feather Emperor gradually appeared. But very soon, that place became dark again. The old man revealed an odd expression and said, "When this Feather Emperor just came out, he was divine and powerful. He was boundlessly tyrannical and wanted to become a celestial emperor, but he was actually killed just like that?" Zhou Bo sneered and said, "Ignorant and incompetent. Your eyesight is poor. What are you looking at? The Feather Emperor aspires to become a celestial emperor. How could he die so easily?" The old man said, "I don't want to talk to you. I can already feel your strong malice towards me. However, I'm warning you, my big brother Li Su is still alive. Don't provoke me." Zhou Bo was disdainful. He directly looked at the old man and said, "You from the Brother Gnawing clan." The strange dragon also muttered, "Something's wrong. I feel more and more uneasy. What exactly is going on? I don't think old Zhou will make a move against me. At most, he'll just kill the one surnamed Gu to the side." These words almost angered the old man to death. Were they even on the same side? Did they even know how to speak human language? However, he didn't want to fight amongst himself either. Instead, he stared at Zhou Bo and said, "You're already so old. Just calm down a bit. In the future, the world will belong to us youngsters." Zhou Bo was stupefied. Then, he pointed at him and said, "Do you still have any shame?" The Zhou clan's people were also speechless. This negative example really was thick-skinned. The old man had his hands behind his back. He paced back and forth, putting on an act and saying, "Old Zhou, just enjoy your retirement in peace. A youngster like me will rise up in this era. I will definitely get rid of the fallen Immortal King clan. I am destined to become the main character of this era, my glory glorious through endless ages." Even Chu Feng couldn't watch on anymore. He wanted to give him a slap to wake him up. "Stop talking. We are still in the Zhou clan. Be careful or old Zhou might beat you to death," the strange dragon said quietly. The old man paced back and forth with his hands behind his back. He didn't seem to care in the slightest. He walked out from the palace, raised his head towards the sky, and then said, "What is there to fear? I can go anywhere in this world." Then there was almost no then. A clap of thunder sounded. With a cautious sound, it blasted down on his head, blasting him until smoke rose from his entire body. He fell down on the spot, directly twitching and fainting. "Damn, what is going on?" The strange dragon was shocked. He stuck his head out, looking towards the old man outside the palace. Then, his expression also changed. With a hong sound, an enormous streak of lightning radiance descended from another part of the sky, hacking down on his body, making his entire body scorch black, smoke rising. He staggered, almost falling onto the ground. Fortunately, he was prepared. The strange dragon was flustered and exasperated, saying, "Why did you strike me? Strike the old man. He's over there. What kind of eyes does the heavens have, recognizing the wrong person? This dragon has always known his place. Don't settle accounts with me." Everyone became stupefied. What kind of situation was this? "Old Gu!" Chu Feng cried out. Fortunately, the old man's talents were exceptional. Even though he was suddenly attacked, seriously injured, he still made it through. With a carp flip, smoke rose from his body, reviving and standing on the ground. He immediately knew what was going on. The threat came from the heavens, making his fine hairs stand on end. That was heavenly tribulation. "Stay a bit further away from me, the two of us are both going to cross tribulation. Meanwhile, the power of the lightning radiance is different. If you get too close, you will die." The old man quickly reminded the strange dragon. Whoosh! The strange dragon was extremely intelligent, immediately understanding what was going on. He had previously eaten the bloodline fruit, and his body seemed to have evolved, becoming much more powerful. He was destined to cross the heavenly tribulation. I say, how could I not have heavenly tribulation after becoming a great origin-level creature? I was just late. The old man said softly. The Zhou clan's people were all moved. Some of them were thinking to themselves, quickly understanding what was going on. Previously, in the sky dome above, the three emperor weapons sealed the heavens, confronting the creature behind the sacrificial ground. That was a contest of supreme existences, blocking even the heavenly tribulation. It could even be said that the two supreme existences intimidated everything. Even the great tribulation of evolved beings didn't dare approach, unable to appear. Just now, the three artifacts and the sacrificial ground disappeared, no longer sealing the heavens. As such, the old man and the strange dragon's heavenly tribulation began to appear again. Meanwhile, Chu Feng understood more than the Zhou clan's people. He believed that after the three emperor weapons and the sacrificial ground disappeared, the stone jar on his body also helped the old man conceal himself momentarily. That was why only when the old man really acted too pretentiously just now, walking out of the palace with his hands behind his back, did he start to be struck by lightning when he was too far from Chu Feng. Roar. The old man was in an extremely miserable state, struggling in the distance. It was because he became a great origin-level expert, an exceptional figure among great existences. Meanwhile, his tribulation had just arrived, so it was naturally great and terrifying. He was submerged in lightning radiance, his entire body covered in electrical arcs, covered in blood. His skin, bones, and inner organs had long been pierced through. Soon after, he encountered the great life and death tribulation. Even further out, the strange dragon was also in a miserable state. First, its hair was disheveled, and then it even directly turned into a silkworm, its entire body covered in cracks. The two of them were crossing tribulation, suffering between life and death. Do you see? That negative example is too excessive, not even the heavens able to continue watching, starting to strike him. Zhou Bo spoke. Even though he knew what was going on, he still couldn't help but mock the old man. It's so painful. Damn it, this heavenly tribulation really came at the wrong time, I wasn't even prepared. The old man was resentful. However, it was useless no matter what he said now. Lightning radiance was endless, drowning him out. This great tribulation continued for an extremely long time. Regardless of whether it was the old man or the strange dragon, they both almost completely died, struggling with difficulty. Half of each of their bodies had turned into ashes. In the end, they crawled up from the scorched earth, slowly recovering their bodies. In reality, Chu Feng should also be crossing tribulation, but he had the stone jar on him. Even if it didn't completely recover now, it could still conceal the mysteries of heaven, preventing the great tribulation from appearing and sensing him. After the old man and the strange dragon crossed tribulation, their bodies recovered, and only after a long time did they enter the palace hall. Meanwhile, at this time, many things happened at the Yang Realm's realm wall. Li Clan's old monster also went, falling into the abyss? Ji Clan's ultimate expert also entered the battlefield? The old man and the strange dragon were both shocked. At that realm wall, there were two more true immortals. Now there were a total of 3 fallen experts. The 3 abysses all opened, and 3 great experts fell within. However, the abyss the Feather Emperor was in was shining. He didn't fail, and his figure could even be seen, about to subdue that fallen true immortal. Apart from this, a few people from the fallen immortal king race came as well. Their realms were all below true immortals, and they were all quite indifferent and arrogant, challenging the outstanding talents of the various clans in the Yang realm. It's time for my Zhou clan to make an appearance. The few great clans are destined to enter the battlefield. Zhou Shi's face was full of worry. She was afraid that the elders of her clan would fail and die there. Don't worry, I'm here, I'll go take care of these people. Chu Feng spoke, consoling Shi. After the old man heard this, he laughed even more. He looked at Zhou Bo and said, Old Zhou, look, the young generation's struggle for supremacy has also begun. Beg me, as a young hero of the present age, I can take action on behalf of your Zhou clan. Do you still have any shame? Zhou Bo's expression was pitch black. This negative example was actually trembling. However, it seemed like they really needed this kind of young, great primordial existence to take action. The old man said proudly, I, Gu Chunhai, am full of heroic bearing. My brother Chu Feng and I are known as the peerless pair of geniuses. We will sweep through all experts below the fallen true immortal level together. The strange dragon became anxious and said, "What about me? Count me in. Even if I can't take action, I'm still a member of the Four Great Beauties group. You can't expel me. My name has to be sung in this great battle." The old man didn't pay him any attention. He looked at Zhou Bo and said, "Old Zhou, beg me. Let me ask who will rise and fall in the present age? Let's look at the peerless pair of geniuses of our younger generation." The people of the Zhou clan all had strange expressions as they silently looked at him. They felt that this person was too shameless. Zhou Bo's face twitched as he said, "Back then, you were the brother gnawing clan and relied on Li Su. Now, you're going to become the brother gnawing demon?" Third Sect Master. Chapter 1524. Old Gu had the urge to beat Zhou Bo to death, especially after seeing the latter's mocking smile. In his half-rotten state, Zhou Bo was still staring at him as if he was a naughty boy, regarding him as a junior. "I can't help but admire you. Back then, you had Li Su's protection, and now you've found a little monster. In a sense, you're not a complete failure as a negative example." Who was old Gu? After hearing Zhou Bo mocking him once again, he immediately turned into a big spittle. His saliva splattered in all directions. "Old Zhou, you scoundrel with half your body in the grave and about to rot. Look carefully, I'm also a Grand Origin Realm expert. I don't need to rely on anyone, I'm destined to be invincible in this world. You're so powerful and so smug, but aren't you also at this level? Moreover, you're old and half-rotten, while I'm the morning sun rising from the east, full of vigor and vitality. The future belongs to young people like me." "How old are you?" "Still pretending to be young. You only have a layer of smooth skin. As for the rest of your body, ask others, which part of you isn't old? Especially your soul light, your spirit, it's as filthy as prehistoric times. You'll never amount to anything. You're still a classic case of failure." Zhou Bo's mouth was vicious and didn't spoil old Gu at all. "I'll support my younger brother in this life, and raise him into an immortal emperor myself." Old Gu was proud and disdainful. He didn't want to challenge Zhou Bo anymore. Following this, he immediately thought of his organization, supporting the emperor. His heart was beating like a drum. Could it be that it was going to come true? Was it going to be someone else instead of him? "Let's all talk less. Let's get ready before we set off." Chu Feng spoke. Otherwise, with old Gu's big spittle and Zhou Bo's vicious tongue, it was guaranteed that they wouldn't stop beating each other's mouths. Chu Feng whispered to Zhou Shi, telling her that he was going to leave temporarily to evolve. "What? You're going to evolve again?" Zhou Shi was astonished. Her little red mouth was slightly open and her face was full of worry. Chu Feng's evolution speed was too abnormal. She was afraid that something would happen to him. Lady Shi understood Chu Feng the best. She had gone through thick and thin with him in the little netherworld, and had been with him for a long time. She had witnessed how he rose to power with her own eyes. How long had it been? It had only been more than 10 years since he entered the world of the living, yet Chu Feng was about to advance again. She was afraid that he would embark on a path of no return. "What are you talking about?" The other members of the Zhou clan were astonished. Someone had heard their conversation. When they learned that Chu Feng was going to evolve, they were all dumbfounded. Was there any logic to this? A young madman had only been in the Yang realm for a dozen years, and was already a Grand Empyrean. He still wanted to evolve further. Was he going to enter the realm of the Almighty? Everyone was shocked. This is not fair. This was especially true for the group of youngsters from the Zhou clan. Zhou Shi's cousins were all in a daze. It could be said that they were greatly stimulated. They could all be considered dragons and phoenixes among men. After all, they were the direct descendants of the sixth orthodoxy in the Yang realm. But compared to Chu Feng, they felt that they were far inferior. I say, little she, what kind of monster did you find? Zhou Shi's cousin couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Yeah, how are we supposed to live like this? He felt his face burning. Don't tell me that he's already prepared to compete with the old ancestors of the clan and be on equal footing. A beautiful girl also spoke. Her former self-confidence had now been greatly shaken. Long you really wanted to say, did you guys just realize? This dragon has already suffered countless blows. The most hateful thing is that everything started with me being the scapegoat. The strange dragon's old brother Qi Feng was also speechless. He maintained his silence. This young man they had just met had brought them too many surprises. They were almighties who had survived from prehistory. What kind of geniuses hadn't they seen before? But this kind of special case still deeply shocked them. I've never heard of an almighty being under 500 years old. Even Zhou Bo sighed. What 500 years old? Those under thousands of years old are all just rumors. If we really go to verify it, it's not credible. This is too abnormal. Another old monster corrected. Don't take the risk. Zhou Shi looked at Qu Feng. Her seriousness was full of worry. This kind of evolution speed was simply killing oneself and walking toward self-destruction. Don't worry, I'm fine. Qu Feng gave her a confident smile to reassure her. I'm afraid you won't be able to turn back in the future and won't be able to see the real you in time, Zhou Shi said softly. Those who advanced too quickly in the past never had a good ending. Even if they managed to survive in the end, it was a life worse than death. Their tormented spiritual bodies were completely reduced to prisoners in rotting bodies. Don't be impatient, you need to calm down. Old Gu also strongly opposed, believing that something would definitely happen to Qu Feng if he continued like this. We can test him, Zhou Bo said. The Zhou clan was so powerful that they had mastered one of the strongest breathing techniques in the Yang realm. They were ranked 6th among orthodoxies and had never been shaken since ancient times. In some eras, they were ranked even higher. They had a special method to examine the state of an evolver to see if he was still suitable to use pollen to continue his transformation. Qu Feng was surprised. Was the clan's method so powerful? He didn't oppose it. He also wanted to see how his current situation was. In the end, Qu Feng was sent into a pure white palace hall. Its entire body was made of bone and didn't give off a gloomy feeling. It was as if it was constructed from fine jade. According to the Zhou clan, the previous owner of the white bone should have been a creature that had reached the end and was even trying to continue the broken path. Therefore, even the material of this pure white bone hall was unimaginable. And using the orphan of this creature to test it was the most appropriate. After being refined by the Zhou clan's predecessors, countless symbols were carved on it and connected to the pollen path between heaven and earth. It could be considered a priceless treasure. Very soon, the pure white bone hall glowed and became almost transparent. Even the people outside could see what state Qu Feng was in. Qu Feng was astonished. What did he see? Countless light particles were floating between heaven and earth and sprinkling down on the mountains and rivers. This bone hall was indeed extraordinary. He once again saw the blurry essence of the pollen path. In particular, he looked in a certain direction. That was the boundary wall of the Yang realm. He could actually see it. The light particles there were especially dense and boiling. Qu Feng's expression was absent-minded as he thought of many things. The unification of the Yang realm and the return of all the heavens to one required war and countless killings. Could it be that this would allow the hidden secrets of the pollen path to be better revealed? Perhaps the people behind the 3 monarch weapons, as well as the main sacrificer, had wanted this outcome? Harvesting all the worlds was meaningless to those creatures. What were they looking for? Could it be the light particles, the source of the pollen path? To make them all reappear? The people outside the bone hall were also observing Qu Feng. They were even more astonished and soon became astonished. There were even some who were full of worry. Through the special white bone wall, they could reflect part of Chu Feng's state. The dense fog around his body actually somewhat restrained the bone hall and prevented it from completely revealing itself. Of course, only a part of the truth was revealed. Everyone was flabbergasted and even horrified. The details of Chu Feng's body were magnified limitlessly. They could see that some parts of him were rotting and emitting a terrifying aura as if he would die at any moment. From the outside, he looked like a skeleton standing in the dense fog. A large part of his body was withering and constantly being corroded, emitting an aura of decay. What's going on? Even the old man was horrified. He didn't understand the secret of the Zhou clan's bone hall. Long Yu's scalp went numb. Is Chu Feng going to die? Zhou Bo's expression was solemn. This is his future. Yes, to be more precise, it's something that might happen if he evolves again. The situation is very grim. Next, another old man explained, "Don't worry, everyone who enters the ancient hall will see a rotting body. It might even be worse than his." That was because if the true body was reflected, it meant that there would be no problem with evolving again. There wouldn't be any risk. But for an old fellow at the great origin realm like Zhou Bo, if he evolves again, he would become a cosmic realm entity. Since ancient times, how many people had succeeded in evolving into a cosmic realm entity? Therefore, if Zhou Bo and the old man were to enter the bone hall, the scene they would see would be even more frightening. This is also very frightening. Chu Feng can't evolve anymore. Zhou Shi spoke, worried for Chu Feng. An old man said, based on his current state, he should wait for at least 10,000 years to eliminate this hidden danger. Only then can he continue. If Chu Feng heard this, he would definitely go crazy. He didn't have the time to cool down for 10,000 years. He wanted nothing more than to immediately ascend to the peak. Because in this era, even the heavens had reached the end. There was no time for an individual to accumulate anything. If he couldn't reach the ultimate, he would die. However, right now the group of people were all moved and even shocked. The youths of the Zhou clan, in particular, were incomparably envious and shocked. In just 10,000 years, this Chu Feng would be able to ascend to the realm of the great existences? This speed was absolutely shocking. Even though this speed wouldn't necessarily place him in the top few, it was still quite close to the top. Yes, if he's lucky enough, he might be able to evolve again in a few thousand years. Zhou Bo added. At this time, even the strange dragon and the old man were speechless. This kind of freakish speed made them speechless. It was simply too fast. One had to know, just what had they paid in order to advance so quickly in this generation? An entire generation. From prehistory until now, they had been accumulating. That was the most precious time. They had abandoned their relatives and forgotten their former beauties in exchange for this life's foundation. Chu Feng came out of the bone hall. As expected, when he heard the Zhou clan's legendary elder advising him to wait for another 10,000 years, he went crazy. He could wait, but would the world wait for him? The source of the mysteries, the ominous lord, the sacrificial ground, and the master sacrificer were all about to appear. If he didn't become stronger, he wouldn't have a chance. Moreover, there were mysterious existences that wanted to return by stepping on emperor bones. And all of these showed that there were secrets unknown to others in this world. Even the supreme beings above the heavens couldn't sit still and wanted to fight for something. Too slow. Could it be that my aptitude is so bad that I'm not suitable for evolution? Chu Feng muttered. Everyone, even the Zhou clan's legendary elder's face twitched. Are you serious? Who are you scolding? The strange dragon wanted to spit at him. The old man couldn't help but want to beat him to death. He thought about how he had voluntarily fallen into the manor of hell and turned into the 9 netherworlds for the sake of this generation. He hadn't even complained about it, but Chu Feng was saying that 10,000 years was too slow. This bastard Chu Feng actually dared to be so unsatisfied. Was he doing this on purpose? No one wanted to talk to him, including the young direct descendants of the Zhou clan who were originally envious of him. At this time, they all shut their mouths and didn't want to speak. Chu Feng looked up at the sky and sighed. Who would have thought that I would encounter a setback in life, a shackle that's hard to break? 10,000 years, I really can't wait. How could they persuade or praise such a person? Originally, the Zhou clan's legendary elder wanted to excitedly tell him that this kind of talent was rare since ancient times and that the speed was fast enough. After a period of accumulation, he would definitely reach the ultimate realm. But now, the Zhou clan's elders all had dark expressions and swallowed their words. Only Zhou Bo spoke. I saw carefully just now. There's something strange about your body. At the same time when the future is rotting, you also have wisps of exuberant vitality. You're in a delicate state of balance. Perhaps you can break through the confinement and break through in a better direction. This will shorten the accumulation time. I will break through. 10,000 years is too long. Chu Feng nodded solemnly. Are you serious? The group was speechless. Chu Feng, Old Gu, and the others went on their way. Under the accompaniment of the Zhou clan's elders and old monsters, they rushed to the boundary wall. Now, at the place where the two worlds were connected, many figures stood. Not only were there fallen true immortals, but there were also ultimate beings from the Yang realm. In addition, such a major event could be said to have attracted the attention of the world. Apart from peerless powerhouses, large numbers of people from various races also came to watch the battle from a close distance. At this time, the three ultimate powerhouses from the Yang realm fell into the abyss of the three fallen true immortals. They were still fighting, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. No one had decided the winner. Perhaps the first to break free and subdue the fallen true immortals would be the Feather Emperor. At this moment, everyone in the world was paying attention to this scene. They were waiting for the Feather Emperor to suppress his opponents and look down on all immortals. There was blood on the ground in the distance. This was the result of a battle between beings below the true immortal realm. Unexpectedly, there were also divine beams flowing in the bloody mist. There were golden lotuses of the great Tao rooted in the void, and sweet springs surged on the ground. It set off the bloody and auspicious coexistence of this place. Don't kill. In the end, we are all on the same side. We look forward to the help of the Yang realm fellow Taoists to help us get rid of the source of the disease. A fallen true immortal spoke, and instructed the powerful clansmen not to kill the heavenly venerables and origin chaos super elite disciples of the various races in the Yang realm. That was right. In the eyes of the true immortals, no matter how old the origin chaos creatures were, they were all junior disciples. Even if a great heavenly venerable ate a life-extending medicine and lived from the prehistoric era until now, he was still a junior. Was the fallen true immortal showing goodwill? However, the blood on the ground explained everything. The contest here wasn't simple. There were too many great clans from the Tao race, Ji race, Peng race, six-eared macaque race, and so on. Some were unmoved, while others were full of worry. For example, the quasi-immortal race had also come. They had to go to the battlefield in the end. Some of the top clans in the Yang realm enjoyed enough resources and were respected by the world. When a realm war broke out and the Yang realm encountered a great crisis, they had to fulfill their duty and take the initiative to go to the battlefield. Chu Feng was surprised. He saw a familiar person. There was an extremely handsome man with a frown on the quasi-immortal race's side. It was Ying Wudi. He couldn't have been brought here to be cannon fodder, right? Chu Feng guessed. In reality, many people from various clans had come. There were core descendants and the strongest disciples in their clans. Naturally, there were also elite disciples destined to bleed for the sake of their clans. Ying Wudi was very strong in the Little Yin realm and was ranked at the top of his generation. After arriving in the Yang realm, he received the nourishment of a complete great world as a seed of the Yin realm and could be said to have advanced by leaps and bounds. But unfortunately, he still couldn't be considered a core member of the quasi-immortal race, so he was in danger of dying when he followed the clan into battle this time. At this moment, inside the quasi-immortal race, Ing Xiaoxiao, Ing Zhixian, and many of the clan's powerhouses were looking at the realm wall through a huge treasure mirror. The two sisters were incomparably worried that Ing Wudi would die. "Ah, Chu Feng, why did he go?" Ing Xiaoxiao cried out in a low voice. She was very worried. She was incomparably shocked. Was the human trafficker crazy? Wasn't he afraid of being killed by the martial emperor's bloodline? Moreover, even though he was very strong, could he participate in the exceptional battle there? Damn, who did I see? Great Demon Chu has appeared, and his true body has descended. He's really too arrogant. What kind of signal is he sending? In a certain clan, the old donkey's reincarnation, the distinguished and elegant Lu Bohu, was immediately dumbstruck. Before long, many people gradually paid attention to Chu Feng. But he didn't really care. The old monster of the Zhou clan had followed him, so there was no problem for him to appear in his true body. Besides, he originally wanted to establish his name and didn't want to hide anymore. He looked at Ing Wudi, who wasn't far away, and thought of some things from the past. Every time this fellow saw him together with his elder and younger sister, his face would be as black as the bottom of a pot. Chu Feng couldn't help but greet him. "Ing Haizi, call me elder brother and I'll guarantee your safety in a while." Ing Wudi suddenly raised his head and saw this familiar old friend. He was sure that he wasn't seeing things and that he wasn't hearing things. How dare this demon appear here? He opened his mouth. Third Sect Master. Chapter 1525. Ing Wudi's expression was truly beautiful. He was gritting his teeth, astonished, shocked, puzzled, bewildered, helpless, and horrified. In a split second, his expression changed again and again. He had never thought that Chu Feng would be so reckless. Had he eaten the Celestial Emperor's gall? He actually dared to come here in his true form. From the bottom of his heart, he sympathized with Chu Feng and had good intentions, but he also strongly rejected him. That was because this demon was always flirting with his sister. Every time they met, he had the urge to beat this human trafficker until he was half crippled. However, he really wasn't a match for him. He hadn't won from the beginning until now. Moreover, the distance between them grew larger and larger. That was why he had a dark expression every time they met. Chu Feng immediately reprimanded him impolitely after seeing his expression. "You're an older sister complex and a crazy sissy demon. Every time you see me, your face looks like it has fallen into a coal pit. It's so dark that the people around you seem to be glowing in the middle of the night." Ing Wudi was furious. He hadn't even gotten angry yet, but this demon who harassed his sister every time had already started to spit at him. What kind of person was he? His strength was inferior, and he really couldn't compare with this freak in the field of evolution. Ing Wudi could only shut his mouth and choose to ignore him. The people of the quasi-immortal race were astonished. Some of them whispered and began to discuss. At present, the demon Chu Feng had long since been hunted and ranked first on the Yang Realm Divine List. The so-called Divine List was the Divine Hunting List. No one else had the honor of being first on the list below the Celestial Venerables. This meant that there were people madly trying to kill him. In a sense, the bounty for being first on the Divine List was much higher than that of many people on the Celestial Venerables hunting list. Only major powers could push him up. It could be said that more than one powerful orthodoxy wanted to kill him. For example, 2 celestial venerables from the martial emperor's lineage had been killed in succession. They were both the martial madman's disciples. In addition, there were several dark powers in the underground world who had also suffered calamities. They had been robbed by this demon. A few days ago, the underground world was wiped out. Later, it was proven that it was all done by this human trafficker. He was unhappy that someone wanted to kill him, so he took the initiative to run over and take action first. If it was also revealed that he was G-Dade, then the human King Mo clan would also go crazy. Back then, they had chased him and longed you all over the world. He's crossed paths with you guys before. At this stage, his strength seems to have increased at an astonishing rate. Even the sixth orthodoxy of the Yang realm, the Zhou clan, is walking together with him. Does this person have great potential? Someone in the quasi-immortal race's mountain gate whispered as he tried to understand the situation from Yingzhixian. How strong was Chu Feng? The old monster of the quasi-saint race wanted to get to the bottom of it. Why did the Zhou clan dare to protect him and not care about the feelings of the martial monarchs and other forces? Yingzhixian's expression was calm as she informed the clan's elders that Chu Feng might have entered the celestial venerable domain. She had a rather good understanding of this old friend's style of doing things. If he didn't have a certain level of strength to protect himself, this old friend wouldn't have appeared like this. It was impossible for him to entrust his life to someone else. Soon after, the expressions of all clans changed, all of them a bit stupefied. That crazy young man named Chu Feng, what level of opponent was he looking at? The primordial chaos level. He dared to kill a powerhouse? This was too absurd. No one believed that a youth could have such high strength. This was simply unrealistic. The curtains had yet to fall on the battle between the three great fallen true immortals and the ultimate creature, and the outcome was unknown. And on this side, the fallen below the true immortal level weren't simple characters. Every single one of them was very strong, ranging from great heavenly venerables to great primordial chaos and above. There was blood on the ground. Although no one from the Yang realm died in the battle with them not long ago, some people were seriously injured, and their blood dyed the battlefield red. At this stage, no one was willing to enter the battlefield lightly. The group of people from the Zhou clan naturally attracted attention because as a strong clan from the Yang realm, they had to pay a certain amount of contribution, and they hadn't even made a move yet. Chu Feng walked out from the Zhou clan's troop. What did this mean? There was no doubt that he was entering the battlefield on behalf of the Zhou clan. For a moment, many people revealed strange expressions. They wanted to see whether it was worth it for the Zhou clan to take the risk of offending the martial monarch and being at odds with the underground world to rope in this crazy young man. Old Gu also walked out and advanced and retreated together with him. Who is the strongest among you? Chu Feng was very direct. He looked at the group of fallen powerhouses in front of him. None of them were weak. It had to be said that this system was terrifying. Each of them had an astonishing amount of hidden energy, and each of them was like a dark war immortal. You want to challenge the strongest? We'll let you choose. A man covered in black and gold armor spoke. He looked like a young man, but this person had definitely lived for a long time. He was full of vigor, and his eyes were like two ancient abysses. Not to mention the others, even a top powerhouse at the great primordial chaos level like Old Gu felt his heart palpitate. After looking at him, his soul was about to sink. This was a fallen powerhouse close to the true immortal level. It could be said that he was half a step away from true immortal. This kind of creature was too powerful. Unless a fallen great universe level powerhouse attacked, no one was his opponent. Apart from him, there were a few people standing in the row with him. They were also close to the level of fallen true immortals, and all of them were top powerhouses below true immortals. Chu Feng grinned. No matter how frivolous he was, he wouldn't court death. Fighting a fallen true immortal was no different from suicide. Old Gu, I'll leave these to you, said Chu Feng. Old Gu's head shook like a rattledrum. What a joke. He was very strong, almost invincible among almighty beings, but when it came to a quasi-true immortal, it was better to forget about it. Unless he had a permanent Tao fruit, or he could become a rotten great universe-level lifeform. The great universe level was a huge leap. When he first entered, his entire body would be rotten. If he wanted to kill a true fallen true immortal, it would be extremely difficult and costly. It would be terrifying in the later stages. Chu Feng looked at them one by one and made his choice seriously. This was shocking. Was he really going to start a war with a quasi-true immortal? What about the rest of you? Chu Feng looked at the others. If we use your Yang Realm's combat power standard to classify, I'm at the Great Primordial Chaos level. The man in silver armor was very young. He had an imposing appearance and was bursting with heroism. However, his pupils were pitch black like two black holes, making one's hair stand on end. Let me ask again. Who is the weakest among you? Chu Feng asked. Who was willing to admit that they were weak? However, someone still spoke in the end. It was the few people at the back. They only said that their realms were still low. The implication was that they might be very strong in the future. The so-called low realms were actually all great heavenly venerables and above. These were the evolvers sent by the fallen immortal royal family, and they were all the elites among the elite. Old Gu, pick a big one. Don't weaken your own identity, Chu Feng said solemnly. Then, he also began to pick an opponent and said, Who is the weakest? Fight me. Everyone was speechless. You called out so fiercely, but in the end you chose the weakest? The corners of the mouths of many old monsters from the Yang realm twitched. Was this youth reliable? He didn't want to be punched to death. I want to fight a primordial chaos expert, but not a great primordial chaos. Old Gu also spoke domineeringly. Are you looking for someone with a permanent Dao fruit in the primordial chaos domain? Asked a woman from the fallen immortal royal family. She had a graceful figure and a head full of long blue hair. Her face was exquisite and flawless, spotlessly white like jade. Her eyes were similarly as black as the abyss. She wore a green-gold armor and looked valiant and formidable. She stared at Old Gu and told him that she was a permanent primordial chaos entity. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Such a young woman was actually from the Hung generation. Who could be her match in the primordial chaos domain? Old Gu spoke righteously and then, he refused. Forgive me for not keeping you company. I only look for primordial chaos powerhouses. I won't fight with those of the Hung generation. Everyone was speechless again. Why were you so righteous and awe-inspiring? You were clearly avoiding battle and running away, so why did it sound so bright and resplendent from your mouth? Not to mention the others, even the strange dragon in the Zhou clan felt hot on behalf of Chu Feng and Old Gu. He muttered in a low voice, This dragon is really ashamed to be in the same group as you. The graceful woman in green-gold armor had a very cold expression on her beautiful face. She said, I'm sorry, we don't have ordinary primordial chaos entities here. If they aren't great primordial chaos, then they are permanent Dao immortals. This. Old Gu was also helpless. This person looks very familiar. He can't be that. Gu Chenhai, right? Finally, someone recognized Old Gu's identity. After all, he was Li Su's brother in the past. No matter how disappointing he would still be noticed and recognized by the people of the world when he was at the side of that dazzling giant. Even though many years had passed and the prehistoric era had faded away, there were still old fellows present who recognized him. At this moment, Old Gu had no way to retreat. He couldn't afford to lose face and be recognized. As Li Su's brother, he absolutely couldn't let others look down on him. Damn it, why are the fallen immortal royal families all so freakish? I became a great primordial chaos, and I wanted to come here to look down on all heroes and release immeasurable radiance. In the end, this freakish race is all from the Great Generation and the Hung generation. Old Gu was furious. Of course, everyone knew that it was impossible for the fallen immortal royal families to not have normal primordial chaos creatures. That level was already considered a great expert. However, today was a special occasion. Those who came were all elites among elite. Without special Dao fruits, they couldn't join this team. Then come a great primordial chaos powerhouse. I will suppress him and help you cut down the darkness and break away from the fallen race. Old Gu had his hands behind his back and pretended to be invincible. Then, black flames throbbed and Old Gu directly disappeared. No one would have thought that the fallen immortal royal family's life form would be so decisive and so fast. After hearing his challenge, he rushed over without saying a word. An abyss covered Old Gu and swallowed him inside. Motherf ** Cur, so inconsiderate. Old Gu was unbearably angry. He completely stopped pretending and began to resist inside the abyss. He wanted to obliterate the so-called darkness and let this person shine again. Chu Feng walked forward and said calmly, "Come, great heavenly venerable fallen race powerhouses, please stand in a row. I will help you purify your bodies one by one, baptize your soul light, and restore your original appearance." At first, everyone felt like he wasn't reliable. After all, he first asked who was the strongest, but in the end, he challenged the weakest. However, now everyone was moved. It was because he began to release radiance, symbols covering his entire body. He was extremely powerful, and the most important thing was that he was a great heavenly venerable. Everyone sighed. Just now, they overlooked many things. This was just a youth, yet now, he already possessed the legendary great heavenly venerable Tao fruit. This type of accomplishment was simply too shocking. Normally speaking, how could a creature of this age be this powerful? If this was said out loud, everyone would feel that it was absurd and unreal. "I will come." Someone walked up. He wore pure golden armor, his appearance dignified and heroic. This was an extremely powerful male. He confronted Chu Feng about to fight. Chi. A streak of light entered the golden-armored male's abyss. Chu Feng didn't say any unnecessary words. He was extremely daring, directly taking the initiative to jump in and start the battle. Up until now, the Yang Realm side still hadn't obtained exciting results. The main thing was that the Buddha clan's ultimate creature was defeated, burned to ashes by the black flames, causing their morale to drop greatly. Meanwhile, Feather Emperor and the other two ultimate experts were still fighting against the three great fallen true immortals, unable to struggle free. Now, creatures below the true immortal level were also fighting. Feather Emperor is about to succeed, he's about to come out. Someone cried out in alarm. His opponent, the powerful true immortal that appeared the earliest, released brilliance from his abyss. It was no longer pitch black like ink, starting to shine brilliantly, sparkling and translucent. An endless rain of light scattered down, covering half the sky. Feather Emperor was currently slowly struggling free from within. Soon, he would be able to purify this fallen true immortal, emerging with a great victory. At this moment, the entire world's attention was focused on this battle. The various clans needed Feather Emperor's magnificent victory to display his divine might, display the immeasurable depths of the Yang realm. This way they could warn the various worlds not to lightly start a war with the Yang realm. The various great inheritances, including the Hun clan, Dao clan, Yuan clan, Ji clan, and others, were all paying close attention to this battle. The slightly inferior Pung clan, Six-Eared Macaque clan, Quasi-Immortal clan, and others were also paying close attention. Moreover, they were discussing internally whether this lineage would truly have hope of ruling the Yang realm after Feather Emperor's great victory. Qin Luoyin, the Divine Temple's fairies, and some people with roots from the prehistoric era, including even the Martial Emperor, were paying close attention to this battle. Feather Emperor has won. That's a peerless expert among the fallen true immortals. His opponent has been defeated, so he's going to thoroughly suppress and purify him. Someone shouted excitedly. What he said was the truth. That wasn't an ordinary fallen true immortal, but a peak expert among them. The decaying creatures of the universe couldn't deal with him at all. However, at this moment, a resplendent brilliance blossomed from the side, completely tearing apart the darkness and being the first to struggle free. Who? Everyone was shocked. Everyone looked in that direction. It was actually that young madman, Chu Feng. Didn't he just jump into the abyss? How did he break out in an instant? Everyone was shocked. Did he fail and get his life spared? Was he released? But it didn't look like it at all. That abyss clearly became brilliant and was no longer dark. Moreover, there were golden lotuses everywhere, and a rain of light scattered over a large area. It was as divine as the birth of a heavenly country. Chapter 1526. The abyss was dazzling, pouring down a rain of light. There were even golden Tao lotuses accompanying it. This shocking scene left everyone stupefied. That young madman succeeded, purifying a great empyrean, allowing this fallen expert to completely recover, completely returning from the darkness. However, this type of accomplishment was too fast, exceeding everyone's expectations. Didn't he just jump into the abyss? In the end, he broke free in an instant. This type of speed, this type of battle result, made everyone feel like it was unreal. It was like a thunderstorm sweeping through everything. In just a few breaths of time, he suppressed a fallen great empyrean. The pure golden armor around this fallen immortal king male's body was extremely bright. His eyes were no longer dark and empty, but instead had astonishing brilliance. One could see that his body was shining, some type of divine symbol engraved on it. It was as if there was a sea of energy in his abdomen, devouring the energy of the Yang realm. His vertebrae released crackling sounds, as if a great dragon was rising up, roaring towards the heavens. His 4 limbs spread out as if they were connected to the 8 wastelands of the cosmos. His 5 viscera were resplendent, and there were sounds of scriptures being chanted. Meanwhile, his head even more so erupted with immortal light, extending towards his entire body. I've broken free, I've returned again. This great empyrean released a low roar. He suddenly raised his head towards the heavens, and then he lowered his head to look at his clenched fists. The abyss behind him was no longer pitch black, becoming divine. Meanwhile, the inauspicious figure within dissipated, and then it completely collapsed. The so-called abyss, after becoming extremely brilliant, gradually merged with his flesh. He really did it, succeeding before the Feather Emperor, purifying a great empyrean. Someone said with a sigh. This was a place where the wind and clouds gathered, the eyes of the entire world. Everyone in the Yang realm was paying attention to the great confrontation here. No one expected that the youth who appeared halfway would be the first to purify a fallen, immortal king. Originally, the creatures of the Yang realm's Harmony province were all preparing to cheer, chanting the invincibility of the Feather Emperor, but now there was a youth who powerfully slaughtered his way out. Even though there was no need to doubt the Feather Emperor's strength, defeating a terrifying true immortal, this type of accomplishment was enough to shake the world. However, letting this youth be half a step ahead was still a bit of a fly in the ointment. Not far out, the Feather Emperor came out. He truly had the bearing of a heaven-warping emperor, releasing an endless rain of light. His entire being was extremely hazy, continuously releasing resplendent radiance. There was a formless great power, becoming one with heaven and earth, resisting all of the experts from the fallen immortal king race. Before him, that fallen true immortal was baptized and purified. He bowed towards him, showing him a great show of respect. Many thanks to Tao friend. Your divine might truly is matchless. Fallen true immortal said with a sigh, completely struggling out from the darkness. He was extremely courteous towards Feather Emperor, carrying respect. This type of creature could break through realm walls with a raise of its hand, able to suppress powerful races alone, yet now, it had the intention of submitting. This caused everyone to be greatly shocked. It could actually make a peerless fallen true immortal feel reverence? Everyone's gaze fell on him. Tao brother is too polite, the Feather Emperor spoke, calm and unhurried. His divine aura pervaded the air, radiance illuminating everything, affecting the entire world, making the other fallen immortal king race experts' darkness force weaken a bit. Was he going to suppress the fallen immortal royal family by himself? It had to be said that his current calm and unhurried style made others feel a type of unmatched confidence, as if he could solve all problems. This is Feather Emperor, Someone who has never been defeated. Someone said with a sigh. Correct. He has the reputation of the undefeated Feather Emperor. Even an old monster spoke up. The Feather Emperor's strength far exceeded the imagination of the people of the world. Even the fallen true immortals were convinced, expressing their respect, making everyone in the Yang realm cheer. It had to be said that the Feather Emperor, whose entire body was submerged in radiance, stole Chu Feng's limelight. After he walked out from the abyss, it was as if an undying emperor emerged into the world, suppressing this place alone. The Feather Emperor's reputation is well-deserved. Even a certain clan elder from the top 10 great inheritances was speaking softly, feeling extremely shocked. As for the Pung race, quasi-immortal race, and the others, they were all shocked as well, sighing endlessly in admiration. It was clearly Chu Feng who slaughtered his way out first, the first to suppress the fallen immortal royal family expert, so why is the Feather Emperor being revered by the people of the world first? Within the quasi-immortal race, Ying Xiaoxiao was discontent, muttering there. She wasn't on the battlefield, so it was useless even if she complained. Apart from her own race, no one else could hear her. She had a head of long silver hair that was brilliant, soft, and as long as her waist. Now, she had long since become an exceptionally beautiful young lady, and was no longer the silver-haired Lolita from before. The Feather Emperor is really too tyrannical. He alone can suppress an entire world. He purified an exceptional true immortal, so it's naturally easy for him to steal the other people's limelight. It can only be said that as long as this kind of person exists in this world, it's very difficult for others to stand out. An old monster from the quasi-immortal race sighed with emotion. This could also be considered an explanation for Ying Xiaoxiao. Ying Xiaoxiao was even more dissatisfied. Beside her, the fairy-like Ying Zhixian didn't say anything. She only quietly looked at the scene reflected in the treasure mirror. The Feather Emperor is unrivaled. Perhaps he will surpass everyone and become the main character of this era. On a certain famed mountain, an old monster even made this kind of judgment. Just like in the past, he has never been defeated. On a mountain peak, the former Qin Luoyin, who was also the current fairy Qinyin, was also speaking softly. Her entire body was covered in multicolored light. Clearly, ever since she awakened her past life, she was also rapidly becoming stronger. At this moment, the Feather Emperor's radiance sprinkled down. His entire person seemed to be standing at the end of the Supreme Great Tao as he illuminated everything in the world in an auspicious manner. Without a doubt, the current him had become the sole focal point of the world. At this moment, he moved. He held something in his hands and indicated to the Buddhist race that he was going to give it to them. After seeing what it was, everyone was gobsmacked. It was a Buddhist relic that was perfectly round, sparkling, and translucent. It was as big as a longan, but there was a wisp of black pattern on it that corroded the Buddhist relic's wisp of origin. That was left behind by the ultimate powerhouse of the Buddhist race. Although it had been burned to ashes, it still left a trace of vitality. Many thanks to the Feather Emperor. Many people from the Buddhist race saluted and expressed their sincere gratitude. Someone sighed and said, "The Feather Emperor is benevolent and righteous." He used his peerless magic power to purify the Buddhist relic that had fallen into darkness, washing away almost all the inauspiciousness. That powerhouse of the Buddhist race will definitely reappear one day. At this moment, it could be said that even though Chu Feng was the first to kill his way out and break free from the abyss, not many people paid attention to him. Everyone was looking at the Feather Emperor. "Thank you for your help, Tao friend." Finally, someone saluted Chu Feng to express his gratitude. It was the great heavenly venerable in golden armor. Boom! After a moment, just as everyone was praising the Feather Emperor, a powerful fluctuation spread out. Another abyss broke open and blood splattered in all directions. Old Gu's hair was disheveled and he was in a rather sorry state as he rushed out. After all, He had become a great primordial chaos powerhouse and had just successfully crossed the tribulation. Therefore, this battle was very difficult. However, his background was still great and he had grasped some kind of unrivaled art that Li Su had passed on to him. He had forcibly broken through the abyss and defeated his opponent, killing his way out of the land of darkness. I, Gu Chunhai, am number one in the great primordial chaos domain. After he broke free, he began to publicize himself in such a high-profile manner. He wasn't humble at all. However, after everyone looked at him in astonishment, they all turned their heads and focused on the Feather Emperor again. Old Gu was speechless and a bit stunned. What kind of situation was this? Was there no one who could say a few nice words? No matter what, they should at least cry out in alarm. Then, he knew what was going on. The Feather Emperor had defeated a peerless true immortal. That was an incomparably glorious battle accomplishment. Fallen true immortals transcended the shackles of the great realm and could almost be considered unmatched creatures. Now, the Feather Emperor had subdued one of them, so the whole world was shocked. Old Gu felt sour and couldn't help but say, "Number one in the present age, undefeated battle accomplishment? It's not like I haven't seen it before. My big brother Li Su swept through the prehistoric era. Who dares to say that they can challenge him now?" Back then, even the martial emperor was slapped unconscious by him. He directly exaggerated the battle accomplishment. It was clearly the martial emperor who had been hit by a brick and beaten until his head was bloody, but in the end, he said that he had been slapped unconscious. There were naturally disciples and grand disciples of the martial madman who had come to watch the battle from a close distance. In the end, when they heard such irresponsible words, they all glared angrily. "Brother, you also fought your way out? Faster than me." Old Gu saw that Chu Feng was chatting with a great deity of the fallen clan not far away and immediately went over to greet him. He wasn't surprised at all. After all, Chu Feng had 2 Dao fruits and was almost at the eternal deity level. Not to mention becoming enemies with a great deity, he could even kill an almighty being. Chu Feng is the first to kill his way out. Someone spoke. It was actually the young lady She had arrived. Now, she was aloof and otherworldly. She arrived at the realm wall while stepping on the rosy morning clouds. She was untainted by even a speck of dust, as if a fairy from the heavens had descended into this world. At this time, many people looked over. They were astonished by the beauty of this young lady from the Zhou clan. At the same time, people couldn't help but look at Chu Feng again. After all, he had been mentioned again and again. At this time, even though his limelight had been stolen, he still drew everyone's attention. Old Gu walked over with a face full of smiles. "Do you see? This is my brother Chu Feng, the current number one. He can see through the heavens and is invincible in the Empyrean realm." Everyone was speechless. They immediately realized that Gu Chunhai was dissatisfied with everyone's attitude. After all, his big brother Li Su had once been respected as the number one ultimate powerhouse. Now, many people respected the Feather Emperor, which made him unhappy. In addition, the brother he recognized in the current world seemed to be extraordinary. It was somewhat inconceivable that he could suppress a great deity so quickly. If it wasn't for the appearance of the Feather Emperor, who shone brightly and attracted everyone's attention, many people would have exclaimed at Chu Feng's achievements. "Brother, can you still fight?" Old Gu asked in a low voice. "No problem." Chu Feng nodded. For him, there was no pressure at all, and he wasn't tired at all. "Brother, please help us escape the darkness." At this time, 3 fallen powerhouses spoke at almost the same time. They all had great deity fruit. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They couldn't not pay attention to this place. If baptizing and purifying a great deity didn't attract everyone's attention, then suppressing 3 more alone would be too out of the ordinary. It was too terrifying. Was he going to sweep through all the fallen powerhouses in this realm alone? Everyone's hearts trembled, and they couldn't help but look over. The Feather Emperor was very strong, but could he fight against a fallen true immortal who was at the top of the realm? It would be very difficult, and he might not be able to do it. Chu Feng stepped forward and was ready to act. He was going to purify the three powerful fallen powerhouses by himself. The fallen immortals who could come to the world of the living were not ordinary. They had all achieved special Dao fruits and were extremely terrifying. Old Gu's eyes lit up. He was hopeful. As Li Su's sworn brother, he naturally hoped that the people around him could continue that kind of brilliance and glory. Everyone was paying attention. They held their breaths and watched quietly. The Third Sect Leader. Chapter 1527. Fallen Immortal King Race, an extremely powerful and terrifying race that would make one's expression change. They were previously the orthodox lineage of all worlds, obtaining the true inheritance of a celestial emperor. However, now, their conclusion was extremely pitiful. They were all contaminated, their entire race corroded, losing their sense of self. In the present world, there were some people from this race that revived, awakening their past lives. However, in the eyes of some people in the world of the living, they still couldn't come to a conclusion. However, there was no need to doubt their strength. They had previously fought their way through the heavens, rarely encountering opponents. From past until now, whenever the fallen immortal race was mentioned, the expressions of all worlds would change. Right now, on the other side of Chu Feng, there were three fallen experts, all of them great heavenly deities. Even in the immortal race, they could be considered special Dao fruits, extremely powerful. The three of them were all extremely extraordinary. The energy density in their surroundings was astonishing. One of them had a head of golden hair that scattered down. He was like a sun god, even his hair engraved with fine but dazzling immortal race symbols. This type of creature was already close to Venerable Heng, could be said to be a peak expert in the same domain. Even if one traveled through all worlds, they still wouldn't be able to find many opponents. It was clear that this person was even stronger than the male Chu Feng purified just now. Even though he was standing there, not moving, the void was still blurry from the pressure caving in. The immortal race symbols on his golden hair flickered, tearing apart the void, even more terrifying than divine swords. Unfortunately, the abyss behind him was too terrifying, indicating that he had fallen into darkness for a long time. The second person was a woman with snow-white skin, silvery white long hair, looking extremely beautiful. However, this person was extremely cold, especially her pair of pupils that were like black holes, devouring the surrounding energy, making one's soul feel like it was going to sink inside. Another creature close to Venerable Heng, making one couldn't help but feel a chill run down their back. Were all fallen immortal king races this talented, exceptionally powerful? They were great heavenly deities in name, but they were already at the peak of their domain, almost able to be called Venerable Heng. There was no need to doubt that the third person wasn't weak either, to the extent where he even had traces of Venerable Heng aura. This was a fallen immortal race that was destined to rise up. It was clear that these three were all going to walk the Venerable Heng path. In the following time, they definitely had to achieve that type of Dao fruit, or else they wouldn't advance to become great figures. The three great experts stood there, emitting immortal clan runes. Their entire bodies were sparkling and translucent, Dao patterns interweaving, causing them to look extremely majestic. They stood tall in front and actually suppressed the celestial venerables on the Yang realm side. They couldn't help but fall back. They actually had the feeling of a flock of sheep encountering a lion king. They were awed. That kind of aura was truly terrifying. When the three of them stood side by side, it was enough to show disdain for a group of experts of the same domain. It was incomparably terrifying, causing the surrounding void to rumble. Some of the mountains in the distance were uprooted and cracked in midair. Chu Feng said, "Do you want to come one by one or all at once?" When these words were spoken, everyone became quiet. Everyone was stupefied, and then they revealed expressions of shock. How confident was he? Suppressing three fallen powerhouses at the same time by himself? This was simply too conceited. A single mishap would result in his death, a tragic death in an instant. Let's start with me first. It's been so many years, I've even forgotten the taste of defeat. Don't disappoint me. The voice of the man with a head full of golden hair was low. His pupils were deep, and there was a kind of demonic nature to them. When people looked at his eyes, they couldn't help but think of the world collapsing and the scene of the planets falling and being destroyed. Once this person grew up, he would definitely become a terrifying fallen true immortal. He would be rather terrifying. A strand of fallen true blood flowed down from his forehead. The space between his brows seemed to have split open, and his entire body was about to be split into two. Behind him, the abyss became even clearer. It was pitch black and unfathomable. At this moment, everyone in the world was staring at this place. They were either at the scene in person or through a special crystal wall that reflected everything here. They were paying close attention to the battle situation. So powerful. It won't be long before this person becomes a hung venerable. Someone said in a low voice. Not to mention others, even the elites of the 10 great orthodoxies of the Yang realm felt a kind of palpitation. They didn't have the confidence to face this fallen powerhouse. Chu Feng didn't say anything and directly walked forward. His large sleeves fluttered about. There was a type of immortal charm, and even more so a type of domineeringness. With a Hong sound, he brought with him endless light as he entered that abyss. He was indeed fearless. His dual Dao fruits were already close to a venerable Hung. In a battle at the same level, who would he be afraid of? This time, he set his mind to carefully look at this abyss and study it a bit. Not long ago, things really happened too quickly. After he purified that creature, he still didn't see through this strange region. The main thing was that he was extremely cautious at that time. After all, it was the first time he entered such a strange and terrifying place. He didn't dare to be the slightest bit careless, so he went all out and used his most powerful strength. The flesh turned into a cage. This is a combination of soul light and domain. In the end, it's a black hole formed from the flesh, soul, and domain? Chu Feng was astonished. He saw through a few things. Within the abyss, it was pitch black and boundless. No light could be seen. It was as if the universe had just begun to take shape and was about to explode at any time. In front of him, a vague void figure stood in the darkness. That was his opponent's strange body. It was one body with two dark sides that emitted a strong inauspicious aura. Hong. Chu Feng didn't say anything. His fist smashed forward. It was too tyrannical and too ferocious. It was as if he was going to pierce through this dark universe and release light. Bang! In the pitch-black darkness, that creature opened its eyes. It was boundlessly terrifying. In a split second, the color of blood dyed this black abyss and corroded this primitive heaven and earth. Moreover, that strange energy, the inauspicious ancestral Taoist matter, all of it began to boil and completely corrode towards Chu Feng. At the same time, that creature blocked Chu Feng's fist. Only, it was shaken by Chu Feng's boundless fist imprint until it fell back again and again. It staggered as it moved and endured the boundless energy. Chu Feng's gaze was intimidating. This kind of inauspicious matter, this kind of ancestral Taoist particle, entangled with a strong aura of darkness. The strange energy was too rich. He was sure that there was a special type of darkness matter here that wasn't inferior to the gray mist. It was extremely terrifying. If it was someone else here, something might really happen. This type of energy, this type of gloomy aura, continuously corroded the opponent's flesh and soul. No wonder it was so strenuous for those final experts to resist the true immortals. This wasn't only a confrontation of power, but also because of a certain type of mutual restraint. Within Chu Feng's body, the little gray grindstone slowly rotated, gradually neutralizing the darkness matter. It was absorbed and used by him. However, he didn't reveal anything, not wanting others to know about his ability. He didn't really trust the fallen immortal king race that much. Chu Feng walked up and observed the abyss. He was also staring at that inauspicious figure formed from symbols. He suddenly released the human king domain and smashed it over. He wanted to imprison the other party and carefully study it. Hong! An intense battle erupted. This person was a bit stronger than the great Empyrean from before after all. He was extremely powerful, and in the end, he actually displayed a portion of the Eternal Venerable's power. He could actually fight fiercely against the current Chu Feng. Unfortunately, he encountered Chu Feng. He didn't waste much time before Chu Feng blasted him through, bringing with him a large amount of black blood. Was that formed from symbols, or was it true fallen immortal blood? Chu Feng walked over and imprisoned him. He squatted down and used his super fiery eyes to carefully observe him. He also used powerful energy to examine and probe his body. In addition, Chu Feng was also touching the abyss. He continuously analyzed it and wanted to thoroughly understand it. After a moment, he couldn't help but frown. He discovered that the situation wasn't good. It was very difficult to completely erase the darkness matter in this kind of abyss. Perhaps it would be born again soon. The so-called crushing of the abyss and completely exploding it, was there any meaning in the end? You've also seen through it, right? The ominous figure underground said in a low voice. His voice was hoarse. In fact, this was a soul light sound transmission. It just gave people a very real feeling, as if he was opening his mouth to speak. If the darkness could be erased and the true me reappeared, why would we need to wait until this era? Someone would have taken action a long time ago. After all, we were once the orthodox lineage, the descendants of the celestial emperor. Those predecessors wouldn't watch us sink into depravity and sink deep into the darkness. This creature was speaking in a low voice. He was very calm and also very cold, as if he was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. In reality, the abyss you want to scatter is the original true me. It's just that we can't turn back anymore. We'll forever sink into the dark burial earth. He sighed softly and raised his head. He looked towards the exit of the abyss as if he was searching for light. Living in hell, looking up at heaven. This is our fate. We can occasionally be as clear-headed as we are today, but most of the time, our sins are monstrous and we don't have a sense of self. His voice was very low and slow. It was also very calm, but he spoke of a bloody, despairing, and also very miserable truth. Was this the truth? Chu Feng was silent. Then who was that so-called awakened true body outside? We were previously the orthodox lineage, an immortal race that was developed through the celestial emperor's inheritance. If we could be redeemed, why would we wait until now? He was still speaking. Chu Feng became silent. This was indeed the case. There were definitely people from the celestial emperor's bloodline who were still alive. If they could be saved, they would have taken action a long time ago. The one outside, he isn't the past me, I am the one. In the abyss, this creature became clear-headed, releasing a low roar. He finally had human emotions. He was extremely sorrowful, as if he was crying blood. Just how pitiful was their current state? It was the same for the entire tribe, not just him. The fallen immortal king race wept in the abyss, feeling despair in the darkness, sinking. No one could save them, only themselves looking up from hell, unable to be redeemed. Then who is that person outside? Chu Feng finally couldn't help but ask him. He is only a type of hope I have for a beautiful future. I hope that he will forever see light, not fall into darkness. He is my yearning. The inauspicious person said softly. Chu Feng felt gloomy. Was he still going to kill this man in the abyss? Just do it. At the very least, after you kill me, my hope for the future, he can live normally for a period of time, enjoy radiance and brilliance. The inauspicious man said. How long will it take for something to happen to him? Chu Feng asked. He should be able to live as long as a mortal's life. After that, he might die, or he might return to the darkness, forever sinking. The man said softly. A mortal's life was nothing more than a few decades, at most 100 years. The beautiful hope of the man in the abyss, in the end, why did it only last for such a short period of time? A mortal's life, if one lives it to the fullest, lives it brilliantly, it is already long enough. The man's voice became more and more overcast. Chu Feng became silent. He really couldn't do it, feeling incomparable sympathy for this man. In reality, many people from the fallen immortal king race were like this. Just do it, there is no need to sympathize with me. The darkness will return, I will no longer be me, you will see my cold-blooded, cruel, and ruthless side. There is no need to hesitate, I was previously resplendent through the years, exceptionally powerful among my peers, I do not need anyone's sympathy. This man spoke, extremely serious, asking Chu Feng to take action. When he saw that Chu Feng didn't move, he spoke again, saying, My beautiful hope, my heart's brilliance, lives in the outside world, he is still here. Chi. Finally, taking advantage of his last bit of clear-headedness, he threw himself at Chu Feng's human king domain, taking the initiative to die. Otherwise, as an inauspicious creature in the darkness, it would be difficult for him to even get rid of himself. Chu Feng brandished his fist. In the darkness, he did everything he could, helplessly, and with a gloomy mood, released a fierce and domineering fist imprint. Hung Long. Resplendence reappeared and blossomed with boundless light. Chu Feng stood in the outside world. He had eliminated and purified a peerless expert close to the revered Hung level. That person was once peerless in his generation, but Chu Feng remained silent. Meanwhile, the others in the outside world all cried out in alarm, shock. Evolvers from various clans, many people all cried out in excitement. A story I have been thinking about for a long time is now starting, but it is not being displayed in the form of words, but rather in a comic. The name is Strange World. It is different and exciting. For more information, please add Chun Dong's official WeChat account and Weibo to understand. Everyone, please support me. Chapter 1528. Chu Feng didn't feel any joy. Even if outsiders saw this kind of glorious battle result, getting rid of a fallen immortal king expert close to the venerable Hung, it was worth writing about, but he himself didn't say anything. He felt a bit disappointed and frustrated, even a bit uncomfortable. He sighed for that man who was looking up at heaven from hell. It was truly lamentable. He couldn't see any brilliance in his entire life, and he raised his head to look for that unreachable light in the abyss alone. In the end, that man met his own death and left behind his most beautiful wish and longing, making Nian want to live in the outside world. But was that still him? It was only a kind of sustenance. That was why when all the clans were discussing passionately and sighing in admiration, Chu Feng was rather restrained. He didn't say anything, and it was even more impossible for him to celebrate with others. He remained silent and didn't say a single word. As a result, no one noticed that he wasn't in a good mood. Countless people were discussing, believing that Chu Feng was truly very strong and could be considered a heaven-warping talent. Great venerables were enough to be proud of. They could look down on all outstanding talents and could be considered unrivaled in the Empyrean realm. As for those close to the venerable Hung, that was even more terrifying. Chu Feng defeated this kind of creature, forcefully and domineeringly piercing through the abyss and walking out. How could this not shock everyone? His talents are out of the ordinary. How old is he, yet he can already kill an exceptional great venerable. In the future, he is destined to step into the venerable Hung realm. Someone sighed, believing that Chu Feng was destined to become an exceptional venerable Hung. At that time, he would be unrivaled under the heavens in the same realm. Venerable Hung wasn't just a saying. Since ancient times, how many of them had appeared? In ancient history, there were definitely some in the Yang realm. The land was vast and resources were abundant, so there were bound to be this kind of heaven-warping talent. However, they could definitely be counted on one hand. Moreover, the past had become the past after all. It couldn't be traced back. Within the quasi-immortal race, there was an elder whose eyes flickered with divine light. He was currently conversing with the sisters Ing Zhixian and Ing Xiaoxiao. This person isn't simple at all. Previously, I only noticed his frivolity, but I didn't expect him to be so exceptional and extraordinary. You two should interact more with him. Humans are creatures that need to keep in touch and interact with each other. Otherwise, they will become estranged over time. Ing Xiaoxiao's silver hair fell to her waist. Her face was lustrous and beautiful, and her lips were bright red. She immediately became unhappy after she heard what was said and said, "Grandpa Third Clan Chief, you're too unscrupulous. You can't be so utilitarian between people. Besides, Chu Feng and I are originally bosom friends who have gone through thick and thin together." The third clan leader's eyes lit up and he laughed. "That's even better. Xiaoxiao, I have high hopes for you. Go through thick and thin with him." Ing Xiaoxiao was instantly speechless. After that, she couldn't help but go to her elder sister quietly and discovered that she was still as calm and silent as before. She was as gentle and tranquil as an immortal. Sigh, my elder sister almost became husband and wife with him back then. Ing Xiaoxiao sighed. What? There's such a thing? The third patriarch of the quasi-saint race was shocked. His status was too high, so he had never understood what this group of clansmen had experienced in the small netherworld. Now that he heard this, his eyes became deep and he smiled. However, Ing Xiaoxiao's soft sigh made him swallow the words he was about to say. My elder sister really had it too hard back then. With him. Sigh. She couldn't help but sigh. Outside the realm wall, those who could personally come here were all elites from various races. They were all accompanied by old monsters, and the way they looked at Chu Feng was very special. At this level, their perspective was absolutely extraordinary. They had long since realized how heaven-defying Chu Feng was. One had to know that the Feather Emperor had spent a lot of time fighting a true immortal of the same level. However, this Chu Feng fought with a fallen immortal king of the same level and broke free in a short while. The battle situation didn't stop and was going to continue. But now, Chu Feng was a little hesitant. Was he still going to make a move? He really couldn't bear it anymore. Thank you so much for saving me. The dead man was the embodiment of his thoughts and beautiful vision. Now, he opened his mouth and expressed his thanks to Chu Feng like this. Did he know that he was only the sustenance of a beautiful wish? Did he know that his true body actually couldn't turn back and had died in the abyss? Chu Feng remained silent. He returned this man's greeting, not saying anything. Then, that silver-haired, cold and elegant female fallen immortal king expert who was close to Venerable Heng walked over, hinting for Chu Feng to make a move. Without any other choice, Chu Feng leapt up, closing in on this tall and slender, graceful and elegant female quasi-venerable Heng. In the end, he rushed into the abyss. The battle erupted in the darkness. This woman was defeated. She also temporarily became clear-headed, understanding everything. Her mood was a bit gloomy, a bit emotional. I am the true me. What is outside is only the most beautiful vision at the bottom of my heart, my sustenance, she said softly. She really was extremely beautiful, a rare beauty in the fallen immortal race to begin with, strength and appearance coexisting. However, right now she was incomparably sad. She didn't say anything else. Just like the fallen immortal king male before, she only carried a bit of sadness as she looked at Chu Feng, having him make a move. Chu Feng became more and more hesitant. Was this right? Could it be that the fallen immortal king's people really couldn't be saved? Was there completely no hope? If possible, he really didn't want to end the life of an extremely talented, charming quasi-venerable Heng. This was also previously a hero of a generation. Only, she was muddle-headed for an endless amount of time. Time froze her body, but it couldn't freeze the darkness within her body. Blood and chaos, Cruelty and coldness corroded into her bones. "Just do it," she said softly. In the final moments, Chu Feng clearly saw many people and scenes in the depths of her eyes. Was that her when she was young? She was still extremely pure, reluctantly bidding farewell to a young man, each stepping on the immortal path, life and death boundless. Her talents were astonishing, quickly growing up, but in the end she fell into the abyss of darkness. "That person, where are you?" In the end she still opened her mouth, as if she was talking in her sleep, quietly muttering. Chu Feng knew that she was talking about the man reflected in the depths of her eyes. After so many years passed, he should no longer be in this world, already dead for many years. She was like a moth flying into a flame, rushing towards Chu Feng, begging for death, only wishing to leave behind a longing for the future, leaving behind that embodiment of a beautiful future. When Chu Feng appeared in the outside world again, he released a light sigh, feeling a bit depressed. He really didn't want to take action again. This was especially the case when he saw that silver-haired woman's thoughts. In the outside world, this beautiful figure carried a brilliant smile, expressing her gratitude towards him. He successfully purified her. Chu Feng unexpectedly felt a type of pain, a feeling of guilt. "Treat me well from the beginning to the end, also purify me." The final extreme great heavenly deity walked over, also almost considered a quasi-venerable Hung-level fallen immortal king race expert. Without any other choice, Chu Feng took action again, entering the abyss, purifying him. The three great experts who stood side by side, three heaven-warping figures who could become eternal venerables in the future, were all defeated by Chu Feng alone, blasting his way through the abyss, all of them purified, thus ending the curtains. Heaven-warping unmatched, this Chu Feng has been underestimated by everyone. If he reaches the ultimate realm, will he still be able to suppress all enemies with such power? When they thought of this possibility, almost every race boiled over. One had to know that when the Feather Emperor fought against the fallen true immortal, he also spent a very long time. This was already considered a glorious battle achievement that shook the world of the living. If Chu Feng reached that level and became an undecaying creature of the universe, if he could still be so powerful and sweep through everything in his path, it would simply be unimaginable. Chu Feng, this person is really going to rise up. This kind of battle achievement is too shocking, sweeping through several great heavenly deities by himself. No, perhaps he can be called a quasi-eternal venerable. How can this be? Ending the battle in an instant, could he be the true eternal venerable? In the outside world, many people were guessing, and they were all apprehensive. He's actually this strong. Time passes so quickly. On top of a mountain peak, the former Qin Luoyin, today's fairy Qinin, softly said. And in the quasi-immortal race, the three clan leaders simply burned with the flames of gossip. They asked Ding Xiaoxiao about everything regarding Chu Feng. It seemed like they couldn't wait to successfully matchmake them. Discussions were everywhere in the world. They were all talking about Chu Feng's battle strength. After all, the whole world was paying attention to the great battle at the Realm Wall. Countless people saw Chu Feng's battle achievement, and they immediately went into an uproar. Not long ago, his limelight was snatched by the Feather Emperor, and now it was undoubtedly returned. Strength couldn't be said, but praise was earned through fighting. Oh, I remember now. Didn't a large number of people have their soul lights engraved with words among the genius disciples accepted by the various sects? What was the signature? Chu Feng. Yes, that's right. I remember that the words in those soul lights were very interesting. Many of them were my uncle, Chu Feng. After such a revelation, many people were dumbfounded. At this moment, old Gu rushed over. He was very excited, even more excited than the main character, Chu Feng, and said, "Brother, you're indeed extraordinary. You need this kind of tyrannical power that can sweep through everything. Your aura can swallow 10,000 miles. Who can stop you?" The strange dragon was far away and naturally witnessed the results of this battle. He was smiling like a flower bud and was telling his old brothers about it, not stingy with his praise. His old brother Chi Feng only had one sentence to say. Not long ago, you were still gnashing your teeth and calling yourself a scapegoat dragon. Long Yu was speechless. He really wanted to say, "Old brother, do you know how to chat?" It would directly make people choke to death. Zhou Shi also came over. She saw Chu Feng's gloominess and said, "You don't seem happy." "I'm fine." Chu Feng shook his head. Old Gu was puzzled. Then, he turned to look around and said, "Brother, you can't be worried about some strong races, right? No matter, with me here, there won't be a problem." He patted his chest and looked around. Immediately, he stared at the Yuan race. "You want to attack my brother?" Old Gu was very scoundrel. "Do you know who I am?" He almost spat out. "My brother is Li Su," but he felt that he couldn't be so superficial. It was enough that he didn't need to say the name. The Yuan race had indeed sent many experts, and they were all experts. Moreover, their hearts were open, and they wouldn't stand on the sinking ship of the living realm. However, at this time, they didn't dare to fight among themselves, especially on such an occasion. It would be too stupid to find trouble with the hero Chu Feng. Therefore, they snorted coldly and didn't want to provoke Old Gu the scoundrel. Could it be that someone from the martial monarch's bloodline is going to take action? Old Gu turned around again and looked in another direction. The martial madman's successor had really come, and it was the sect master's eldest disciple, a top powerhouse who almost surpassed great origin immortals and was about to touch the great universe domain. "Nephew Gu, restrain yourself and don't act recklessly," Old Gu warned, but he was a little guilty. After all, the martial madman's eldest disciple was very strong, and some even suspected that he might be an eternal Tao immortal in the domain of origin immortals. The martial monarch's eldest disciple glanced at Old Gu and really didn't want to pay attention to him. Were it not for the fact that Li Su was still alive and this fellow was Li Haizi's brother, the martial monarch's eldest disciple wouldn't have been able to restrain himself and would have slapped him to death. After all, no one was willing to be the eldest nephew, especially someone of his status. At this time, there was an ear-piercing buzzing sound as if a terrifying demonic bird was fluttering in the air. A few strange and terrifying creatures had arrived at the boundary wall. They descended on the ground, shrouded in a dense mist and emanating an intense aura of energy. "You're Chu Feng? A creature who escaped reincarnation and shouldn't have appeared in the world of the living with his memories. Come with us." One of the creatures spoke coldly, directly, and overbearingly. He told Chu Feng not to resist and to immediately follow them. At this time, everyone's pupils shrank as someone recognized their identity: reincarnation hunters. They had actually appeared when the world of the living was about to face the outside world, and they had even come to find Chu Feng. Even Old Gu's expression changed and became very unsightly. He knew that these creatures weren't to be trifled with. After being targeted by them, it meant that one wouldn't live for long. "Everyone, is there a misunderstanding?" Zhou Shi spoke anxiously, afraid that something would happen to Chu Feng. "There's no misunderstanding. All of you, get out of the way. Chu Feng, come with us." In the mist, a reincarnation hunter urged coldly. "Can't we clear things up here? Can't we just clear up some misunderstandings?" Chu Feng spoke gently without a trace of impatience. He was doing his best to avoid conflict. "Everyone, the world of the living is currently facing the enemy. Can we discuss this later?" Zhou Bo, a famous character of the Zhou clan, stepped forward and spoke up for Chu Feng. "Your Zhou clan should know that there's no compromise in the place where we appear. He will be locked away and cannot be changed," a reincarnation hunter replied indifferently. Then, another reincarnation hunter added, "We don't belong to the world of the living. We travel everywhere in the heavens." At this time, even Old Gu was a little angry. In this kind of situation, even the bloodline of the martial madman, who originally wanted to kill Chu Feng the most, didn't make a move and only responded with silence. That was because Chu Feng's current battle achievements could be considered a battle achievement for the world of the living. Even though the Yuan clan had evil intentions and really wanted to kill Chu Feng, they didn't show it on the surface and restrain themselves. However, these so-called reincarnation hunters wanted to arrest him directly after several people arrived. They were really too tyrannical. Zhou Shi wanted to speak, but Chu Feng shook his head and asked her to step back. He walked forward and said, "You and I can't communicate. Can't I say something?" "There's no need," a reincarnation hunter said indifferently. He finally saw his true body. He had a fox head and a vertical eye between his brows. He had a human body and was about 3 feet tall. He had rotten wings on his back and his body was rather strange. "No need? Fine then." After saying this, Chu Feng suddenly erupted. His whole body shone brightly like a human-shaped dragon. He soared into the sky and swooped down. Boom! He took action, going all out. With a ping sound, a reincarnation hunter with extremely powerful strength was blasted apart. This was truly domineering, full of ferocity. Since there was nothing more to say, Chu Feng attacked. Blood splattered everywhere, causing the heavens and earth to rumble and resonate. Chu Feng's punch was too terrifying. In a split second, that reincarnation hunter was blown to pieces. For a moment, the world was shaken. After talking about the comic today, some people happily went to read it. There were also some brothers or sisters who were very excited and told me that they wanted to talk to me face to face with Black Brick. These excited brothers and sisters, do you have any misunderstandings? Put down the brick and talk nicely. I finished the idea for the comic Strange World a few years ago and then handed it to someone to draw. It's all because I wanted to write too many stories but didn't have time to write them all. So I wanted to use the form of a comic to show a work I had thought of before. It doesn't affect my writing at all. I finished the idea for Strange World a few years ago and has nothing to do with it now. But it's really wonderful. You sit down. Please put down the brick. Yeah, if you want to read it, you can go to Tencent Animation. If you don't like comics, you can read my novels. One novel after another is always wonderful. Yes, I have to be confident. I've said that the Holy Ground will have a perfect ending. It won't end until it's perfect. Soon, the end of March or the beginning of April. Chapter 1529. Everyone became quiet. No one expected Chu Feng to dare take action, moreover in such a domineering manner, dealing a decisive blow in such a clean and efficient manner. He killed that reincarnation hunter who treated him coldly and didn't allow him to speak. At the scene, specks of blood had yet to completely scatter. Time seemed to have frozen. It was a ghastly sight. This reincarnation hunter was definitely not weak. He could be considered an expert, yet in the end, he was killed in an instant. He was originally incomparably cold, but in the end only fear remained. Then, his face split into pieces, and his body and soul disappeared. In that place there was only a single youth, standing there alone. His entire body was glowing, and his entire body was covered in golden runes. This made him seem especially powerful, as if he was a young war god from the ancient times. This entire world was illuminated by the resplendent radiance he released. He was incomparably divine. Everyone was silent. Everyone found this hard to believe. This youth was actually so powerful and daring. What did he do? He actually killed the emissary of an unparalleled organization. All over the world, everyone was stunned. After a moment of silence, the clamor was deafening. What followed was a heated discussion, especially among the younger generation, causing a huge uproar. The older generation were all stupefied. No one understood more clearly than them how terrifying that organization was, yet this youth was actually so decisive, killing a reincarnation hunter? Even now, many people didn't dare believe it. Reincarnation hunters, the origins of these creatures were too great. Their origins were boundlessly terrifying. One could tell what they were doing just from their name. Those who dared to walk the path of reincarnation and successfully reincarnate with their memories, which one of them was ordinary. They definitely all had great roots, and their past glory was unimaginable. However, despite this being the case, this organization still dared to hunt those creatures, moreover persisting from ancient times until now. They had never been flattened by others. This was enough to explain everything. Throughout the ages, there were rarely anyone who could go against their will. At the very least, even if there were great figures who reincarnated, they would still keep a low profile, avoiding these hunters for a long time. On the surface, they would allow each other to get along, but they wouldn't step down. The entire world erupted with commotion. This master is truly a fierce person. Today, I was fortunate enough to personally witness him blast a reincarnation hunter into bone dregs in front of everyone. His blood splashed across the realm wall, so ferocious, decisive and domineering. When it's time to make a move, he makes a move without the slightest hesitation. What a young madman! Many people were in heated discussion. Young people were the main focus. They didn't care how powerful that organization was or whether it would suppress the various races in the Yang realm until they couldn't breathe. There were even some young girls who clutched their chests in sympathy for Chu Feng. Chu Feng looks like such a delicate and pretty youth. He's clear and otherworldly, and has the aura of a banished immortal. Yet, he's been forced to this step. He doesn't hesitate to break off relations with the reincarnation hunters and fight to the death. How pitiful! Yeah, he's about to be hunted down by this organization. Since ancient times, not many people have been able to escape the pursuit of this colossus. Their fates will be very miserable. It had to be said that sometimes a clean and sunny face, pure eyes, and a delicate and pretty appearance could easily arouse people's sympathy. Of course, those who had this kind of sympathy were mostly special people, mostly young girls. When they heard these words, their fellow disciples couldn't help but want to correct them. That person was indeed very handsome, but where was the aura of an immortal? Didn't you see that he'd already turned people into bone fragments and dyed the void with blood? Especially when his fist was thrown out, the space collapsed. The black crack was a few feet wide, and anyone below the heavenly venerable realm who got close would be cut into pieces. How could this be called immortal chi? However, as soon as this correction was said, it was refuted by a group of sympathetic young girls who were obsessed with appearances. He was forced to make a move. Moreover, he might be very miserable after this. Since ancient times, how many people have been able to escape the pursuit of the reincarnation hunters after killing them? His pitiful ending can already be seen. Do you still have any sympathy? What could a group of senior brothers say? They should just shut up. However, when they thought about it carefully, it was indeed so. They sighed softly. This Chu Feng was Chu Kuangren. His ending would most likely not be very good. The great clans were also discussing it. They were all suppressed by Chu Feng's unexpected killing. I'm not mistaken, am I? Did he really kill a reincarnation hunter? This was the quasi-immortal tribe's third clan leader. He was gnashing his teeth. At first, he was still actively working to getting Xiao Xiao and Ing Zhixian to go through thick and thin with Chu Feng. However, he was so shocked that his eyes were lifeless. What situation was this? He killed one just like that? In front of the Yang realm's boundary, one could hear a pin drop. The blood on the ground was still hot, and the atmosphere was incomparably tense. The few remaining reincarnation hunters stared at Chu Feng with blade-like eyes. They couldn't believe that this youth was so brave. They hadn't even made a move, yet the other party had already made things difficult for them. From their point of view, this was a lawless contra-walker who went against the cycle of reincarnation. This kind of creature must be eradicated. He was a scourge that absolutely couldn't be left alive. It's useless no matter who comes today. Don't try to dissuade him. Heaven and earth will not tolerate anyone who dares to rashly kill a reincarnation hunter. His name will be spread throughout the universe, and he will be punished together. A reincarnation hunter said coldly. There was no anger, only a kind of gloomy coldness. He was announcing that Chu Feng was sentenced to death. It's you guys who want me dead. Isn't it normal for me to make a move like this? Chu Feng clasped his hands behind his back. Great Dao runes bloomed beneath his feet like golden lotuses. They supported his feet as he advanced at an extreme speed, forcing his way toward those people. He said coldly, I'm fighting for the Yang realm. Which side are you guys on exactly? After coming to the Yang realm's boundary, you didn't ask about the cause and effect. You didn't allow me to speak and didn't give me a chance to communicate. You directly convicted me and want to kill me. What right do you have? Everyone was shocked. Chu Feng's aura was too powerful. There was brilliance all over his body, and even his hair was sparkling and translucent. All kinds of Dao patterns interweaved and danced in the sky. Many people were shocked. Was he going to continue attacking and kill the remaining reincarnation hunters? Who gave you all authority? Who gave you all such high and mighty status? Today, if you don't give me an explanation, I'll kill all of you. Chu Feng shouted loudly. He was really angry. Just because he reincarnated with his memories, he was going to be hunted and ruthlessly killed? What right did they have? He was fighting for the Yang realm, and had made great contributions. Even the Yuan clan didn't dare to act rashly, and even the martial madman's bloodline didn't cause trouble for him under such circumstances. However, this organization put on such a high and mighty attitude. They coldly looked down on him and directly convicted him. They didn't even give him a chance to speak. How tyrannical and self-centered. Therefore, Chu Feng attacked. He had never been a restless person, and he had been like this since the little underworld. Who gave you all the courage? You're just celestial venerables, yet you dare to arrest me and accuse me of crimes? Are you all courting death? Chu Feng's voice was ice-cold. Now, he was floating in the air and rapidly closed in. He began to look down on the reincarnation hunters. Nearby, some people were speechless. They felt that they had been tricked. Even celestial venerables were being looked down upon. This made some old men feel bitter. They glanced at Chu Feng's youthful body and then at their own aged bodies. They almost covered their faces in shame. These reincarnation hunters weren't as weak as Chu Feng had said. At the very least, there was a grand celestial venerable among them, and there was even an almighty. Unfortunately, they didn't know what kind of creatures Chu Feng had killed. He had killed an almighty not long ago. Moreover, they were too confident. They didn't even understand when they came here. They didn't know that he had just purified 3 grand celestial venerables who had fallen into darkness. According to the information they had received, Chu Feng was still King Heng. At this time, the reincarnation hunters' eyes were cold. They didn't respond to Chu Feng. They slowly took out special weapons, some kind of dark red long blade. Standard weapon, reincarnation blade. Chu Feng's pupils shrank. He had seen similar weapons on the reincarnation road, but they were far inferior to the ones in front of him. This was definitely an upgraded version that was suitable for celestial venerables. From the past until now, all those creatures who tried to enter the reincarnation cycle with their memories returned to dust. You will not be an exception, a reincarnation hunter said. With a clang, the long blade in his hand emitted a blood-red light. The dark red blade was bone-chilling as it pointed at Chu Feng. I hate your high and mighty attitude the most. You seem indifferent and can look down on all living things, but in fact you are nothing. You are just someone else's slaves. Who gave you the right to decide the life and death of others? You can easily convict others? Who are you demons and ghosts listening to? How dare you be so overbearing and look down on the world? Do you think those who obey will prosper and those who disobey will perish? Chu Feng was fearless and continued to ask questions. At the same time, light bloomed from his wrist. He took out a diamond chakram and held it in his hand. Among the reincarnation hunters, a withered creature less than 4 feet tall walked out. The fog dissipated, revealing his true appearance. He had a humanoid body but a sparrow-like bird's head. He was gray and had no special characteristic. At the same time, he also had a pair of rotten wings that belonged to a sparrow. This creature looked strange, but it was very strong. It was an almighty. Wielding the reincarnation blade, it coldly and mercilessly pressed forward to kill Chu Feng. This kind of creature was naturally incomparably confident in being able to reach this stage. At the same time, it was also very powerful. The almighty of the reincarnation hunters had attacked. Chu Feng, hurry up and leave, Zhou Shi urged anxiously. She was afraid that a large number of experts would rush over. One of the Zhou family's legendary figures stepped forward and tried to dissuade the reincarnation hunters again. He wanted them to sit down and talk things over. The almighty that looked like a gray sparrow was very cold. He glanced at the Zhou family's people and said, "You can't interfere in this matter." He came over with his blade in hand. With every step he took, a several-foot-wide black crack would appear in the void. It extended for who knew how many li and reached the horizon. This kind of scene was extremely terrifying. He radiated terrifying energy. All kinds of ancestral Taoist matter and divine granules were vast and mighty. They rose and fell, causing some distant mountains to disintegrate and collapse. Many people couldn't control themselves. They all fell back because the energy field this person emitted was too powerful. Fortunately, there were old monsters here. They directly took action and resisted this kind of fluctuation. This almighty among the reincarnation hunters stepped in the void, but the sound of his footsteps echoed. It was as if he was stepping on many people's hearts. Those with insufficient strength couldn't bear it at all. Even the celestial venerables turned pale and felt incomparably uncomfortable. Their hearts felt like they were about to split open and cough out from their mouth. The scarlet blade light in this almighty expert's hand flourished more and more. His entire being was incomparably terrifying. Chu Feng stood in the air with the diamond chakram in hand. He stared at all of them and said, "You want to take me down? Unfortunately, it's not enough even if you all attack together." Boom. Then he took action. He was peerlessly powerful and his physical body was too terrifying. When he crossed over, the void exploded and the white immortal mist boiled into a mushroom cloud. Dang! 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 The ear-piercing sound of metal colliding rang out. Sparks flew in all directions, splitting the void and making the heavens collapse. The scene was extremely terrifying. That was the diamond chakram and reincarnation blade colliding. Countless Tao patterns blossomed in the void like suns one after another. It was glaring and terrifying. Chu Feng was able to contend against an almighty expert. In this great confrontation, he wasn't at a disadvantage in the slightest and was even more powerful. Everyone was truly shaken. He was suppressing an almighty expert? Amidst the sharp and clear sounds of collision, everyone saw that reincarnation blade break into more than 10 pieces. They flew in all directions and were smashed apart by Chu Feng's diamond chakram. Boom! In the final symbols, Chu Feng's radiance overflowed into the heavens like a demonic god. His murderous intent was boundless. The diamond chakram in his hand pierced through the heavens and even more so pierced through the almighty expert that was rapidly retreating in the air. Blood splashed in all directions, dyeing the skies red. Chi! Chu Feng dashed past with 5-colored divine light flickering behind him. He used the wonderful 7 treasures technique. The 5 rare materials he had collected transformed into 5 immortal swords and killed the almighty expert. His body was cut into several pieces and his head rolled off. He wasn't able to reconstruct his body. The sword chi and the symbols of the wonderful 7 treasures technique that had cut into his body completely bloomed. With a pop, he disintegrated and his body and soul dissipated. An almighty expert died. He was killed by Chu Feng. Boom! Heaven and earth exploded. Chu Feng traversed this place with his physical body. Behind him was a thick white immortal mist that boiled up. His real body charged toward the others. Under the shocked gazes of the various races and the dumbfounded gazes of the spectators outside, he was like a war immortal descending to the world. He went on a killing spree and swept away everything in his path. A terrifying boom rang out, accompanied by flashes of blood. With a pop, the remaining reincarnation hunters were all killed by Chu Feng. Not a single one was left. One person swept through the enemies in all directions. All of his opponents were killed by him. The vast sky was silent. There was only a delicate and pretty youth whose body was suffused with specks of golden light. He stood in the void and was no longer domineering. Instead, an ethereal temperament emerged. Chapter 1530. The blue sky in the distance was as clear as a gem. Near the boundary wall, there were towering mountains and primal chaos pervading the air. Chu Feng stood in midair with specks of golden light all over his body. He was ethereal and otherworldly, like an exiled immortal descending into the world. Only the blood on the ground reminded everyone that it was this delicate and pretty youth who had just started a massacre and killed all the reincarnation hunters. This was a great conspiracy that was destined to stir up a great storm. There were ruthless people since ancient times, but none were as brave as him, breaking off relations with this organization in front of everyone in the world and killing them in public. The surroundings were silent, and everyone's hearts throbbed. Even the pupils of the Feather Emperor in the distance contracted. He didn't say anything. His whole body was covered in mist, sacred and transcendent as he stood on a majestic mountain. The whole world seemed to have lost its voice. People in the outside world were shaken and dumbfounded. He had killed all the reincarnation hunters just like that? Hurry up and leave. Old Gu transmitted anxiously in secret. Like Zhou Shi, he wanted Chu Feng to escape and live in seclusion for a period of time. He pierced through the sky. In the outside world, people from all over the world reacted. In Xiaoxiao's silvery hair was as smooth as silk, and worry was written all over her fair and beautiful face. This kind of outcome was too terrifying. It was impossible to be kind after offending the reincarnation hunters. There was no place for Chu Feng in this world. This is too decisive and fierce. The younger generation will surpass us in time. In the quasi-saint race, the third clan leader was so shocked that he accidentally pulled off a chunk of his beard. In his opinion, Chu Feng was too unyielding and shouldn't have attacked. It would have been better if he had turned around and left. Avoiding these reincarnation hunters was the best strategy. He thought that Chu Feng should leave first and hide for a period of time. When he was strong enough, he could ask the Zhou clan to come forward and talk to that organization in secret. Perhaps there would be a turn for the better. How could he know that Chu Feng had too many secrets? He had directly crossed the reincarnation path with his physical body, and not just by smuggling his soul light? This matter couldn't be investigated. After that organization became aware of it, it wouldn't be effective even if the Hung clan, the Dao clan, and the other top 10 clans came forward together, let alone the Zhou clan. The reincarnation hunters would definitely investigate to the end once they found such clues. Chu Feng was clearly aware that he wasn't like the other samsara travelers, so he'd long since been prepared to fight to the death. At the scene, the legendary figures of the Zhou clan were all stiff. They still wanted to say something, but even if they listed out all sorts of reasons, it would still be difficult for that organization to stop. The entire world was in an uproar. Even a few old monsters from various clans were gnashing their teeth. They were actually witnessing this type of thing with their own eyes. A youth was challenging the dignity of an unmatched organization. Chu Feng suddenly turned around and looked in a certain direction. The space there distorted and became indistinct. A corner of a silver ancient palace appeared. All dead? A hoarse voice came from within the silver tile palace. The tone was slightly stiff and cold, as if it was very puzzled. A pair of bloody eyes appeared in the mist within the silver palace. Chu Feng strode forward. Obviously, he was going to attack again. Feeling a headache coming on, old Gu rushed over and grabbed him. He wanted to say, "Ancestor, are you going to kill me again?" Zhou Shi anxiously shook her head. She flew over and stood together with Chu Feng. She secretly transmitted her voice. This was just an empty palace used as an eye to let the organization behind the reincarnation hunters see the result here. "I say, brother, you're really hot-tempered. How can you be so unyielding and kill all of them? It's better to cripple them and leave them alive." Old Gu's head was full of cold sweat. His eyes were full of melancholy because this matter wasn't easy to solve. He was really afraid that Chu Feng would be killed because he knew that organization was too terrifying. Under such anxious circumstances, old Gu seemed to dare to say anything. He said, "Even if you want to kill some of them, you have to do it from behind. You have to learn from my big brother." Back then, he sent an old brother to reincarnate. After being targeted by the reincarnation hunters, he was also unbearably angry. In the end, he found a secluded place and attacked them from behind. He killed all of them and vanished from the world of the living. When they heard these words, everyone was dumbstruck and speechless. Even the old geezers had a strange expression in their eyes as they looked at old Gu. Within the Silver Palace, the eyes in the mist were originally very ruthless and bone-chilling. They were staring at Chu Feng, but now they were looking directly at old Gu. "It's not like I'm the one who killed them from behind. You go and find the main culprit." Old Gu put on a guilty expression and stiffened his neck. Many people were speechless. How tiring was it to have such a sworn brother? He was obviously inviting disaster for his brother Li Su. There was really no one else like him. "My big brother is Li Su," old Gu added. His meaning was, "Don't look for me and don't get the wrong person." Even Zhou Bo, who had always had a tense relationship with old Gu, didn't say anything. He didn't make fun of old Gu because he really didn't want to say anything. Although Long Yu wasn't close to the battlefield, he could see everything clearly through the crystal wall. He had a conflicted expression. If he walked together with a swindler like old Gu, there was no guarantee that he would be cheated one day. Especially since he had the attribute of being a scapegoat and was often unlucky. If he walked too close to Gu Chunhai, he would definitely be cursed to death. In this kind of serious occasion filled with killing intent, many people revealed strange expressions. Even some old monsters wanted to laugh at Black Handley for having his illustrious reputation toppled. His judgment in making friends wasn't that good. This Gu Chunhai was too preposterous. Only one person didn't think so. Chu Feng looked at old Gu and sighed. "There's no need to be like this." He truly understood old Gu's intentions. It seemed preposterous and a bit laughable, even to the point of being mocked by others. However, this definitely wasn't old Gu's way of doing things. In reality, Chu Feng immediately realized that old Gu had put in a lot of effort to do this kind of ridiculing thing. Old Gu was using his big brother as a scapegoat. This was really shifting the blame to share the damage and save Chu Feng. "Hurry and leave," old Gu transmitted secretly. Chu Feng nodded. He was going to evolve. He had enough great power level earth on him to quickly become stronger. Once he rose up and became even stronger, he could just continue killing reincarnation hunters. If they really fought to the death, who would be scared of who? If others knew what he was thinking, they would all feel their scalps go numb. Was this person crazy? He actually dared to be this audacious. The void distorted, becoming indistinct and extremely dim. The pair of bloody eyes in the Silver Palace were extremely terrifying. They were exceptionally cold and carried resentment as they stared rigidly at Chu Feng. This was like a malicious spirit that had been buried in Deathland for countless years and had been asleep for many great eras. That kind of gaze, that kind of resentment, made one shiver all over. Just a single glance from him made one feel like they were being cursed. Hung Long. Suddenly, an explosion sounded. The world was split open. The energy was just too boundless and majestic, as if a world was being established. The heavens were shaken. Chu Feng suddenly acted out, using the most powerful energy. He activated the diamond band and smashed it into the silver palace in the distorted void, rushing towards that pair of vicious bloody eyes. With a pring sound, the silver palace exploded. The void exploded, and a sinister malicious spirit's roar sounded. Everything disappeared, and the palace collapsed. Specks of blood scattered out. That pair of eyes were destroyed, disappearing in an instant. This wasn't that creature's true body that arrived, but rather the blood eyes he produced with exceptional methods. They were destroyed just like that in the Void Palace. Chu Feng stood high up in the air. Brilliant symbol radiance surrounded him. After the silver palace exploded, blood rained down, illuminating the scarlet light. However, not a single drop landed on his body. At this moment, even his hair was shining. He was silent and calm as he stood there, unmoving. Everyone was petrified. Killing this pair of blood eyes and killing reincarnation hunters were two completely different concepts. These blood eyes might be related to the higher-level creatures of this organization. Even if these were only blood symbol eyes that he released and could transform into countless numbers, it was likely a sea of them. However, he definitely wouldn't allow others to look down on him. The old man felt a headache coming on. He directly pushed Chu Feng away and said, "Hurry and leave." Zhou Shi was also anxious. She fished out a protective talisman and directly placed it on Chu Feng's neck, telling him to hurry and leave this place until the great era passed. Chu Feng was greatly moved. He didn't need to say any polite words to them, but he still felt warmth in his heart. Isn't it just an organization? How can it compare to the underworld? Chu Feng spoke. He really didn't take it to heart. In his opinion, this so-called reincarnation hunter was most likely released by the underworld, right? In any case, he had fought a great battle at the Spirit River. Even if he had used the stone jar to display his might, he had still experienced a terrifying battle of that level. Very powerful, very special, not necessarily weaker than the underworld. "This is a strange and terrifying power," said the old man. Chu Feng was immediately startled. This organization wasn't the same thing as the underworld. They didn't originate from the same source. He hadn't really felt at ease just now, but now he felt a headache. It was as if he had really kicked an iron plate and kicked out a fierce stubble. Whatever. He shook his head and decided to leave this place to evolve first. He bid farewell to the old man and Zhou Shi and disappeared in a flash. Chu Feng's figure faded away with the help of the domain. In the blink of an eye, he was already dozens of provinces away from his original position. The boundary wall was momentarily silent. Before long, whispers could be heard. Those who could come here were all experts from various races brought along by old monsters. At this moment, they were all quite shocked. Ing Wudi was at the edge of the battlefield with a complicated expression. At the same time, he was convinced that this was the true Demon Chu who would bring disaster wherever he went. In any case, he could be considered to have let out a long sigh of relief after seeing Chu Feng leave. Although he didn't like that demon and wanted nothing more than to cripple him, he didn't want to see him die here. What am I worried about him for? He's still alive and kicking no matter how he tosses and turns. He tosses and turns from the underworld to the world of the living and the experts. He brings disaster to higher and higher levels. I think sooner or later, he'll run to the heavens to toss and turn. Ing Wudi sighed ruefully. If he was honest and dutiful, then he definitely wouldn't be Chu Feng. He must have been possessed. Suddenly, a low and deep music was transmitted over like the soft ring of a funeral bell. Moreover, countless black lights tore open the void and distorted the world in front. It was as if countless crows were flapping their wings and striking metal, tearing open space. As expected, The organization behind the reincarnation hunters wouldn't leave the matter at that. Now, they were stirring up a huge commotion. Something was about to come out. A dark and rugged road ran through the void and extended to the outside world. Emaciated creatures walked out in rows, bringing with them a decaying aura. They were too ancient and didn't know how many eras they had existed in the world. They didn't seem like normal creatures at all. They had survived using some kind of secret technique or even forbidden technique. There were a total of 13 powerhouses. Their hair was sparse and almost all of it had fallen off. Their eye sockets were sunken like holes, and the only layer of flesh on their bodies stuck to their bones made them look like skeletons. It was simply impossible to guess how long they had lived. These were primordial-level creatures that had survived using special methods to struggle at death's door until this era. They were also the powerhouses in the eyes of the world. Crows filled the sky. They were all decaying, but they were still alive. They had also flown out from the reincarnation road. Mourning birds were everywhere. Ominous sounds rose and fell, and it was very noisy. There were no less than 13 powerhouses. How tyrannical and tyrannical was this? After that organization was offended, such a powerful army came almost immediately. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The organization behind the reincarnation hunters was too powerful. They had dispatched such a group of people in an instant. It was truly somewhat terrifying. At the same time, a blood-colored magic chart appeared in the void. Chu Feng, reincarnator smuggler, kill. It was such a simple line of words, but it made everyone endlessly bewildered. There was actually a special description for him. Smuggler? It was different from the past. If Chu Feng was here, he would definitely be vigilant. Perhaps this group of people knew that he was a creature that charged through reincarnation with his corporeal body. They needed to be strictly on guard. At this moment, in the outside world, there was a group of people with complex emotions. They were all staring at the scene in front of the battlefield through the crystal wall. Their young and tender faces were filled with conflict. This was a group of youths. They were all heaven-warping geniuses, and were the core disciples of various great sections. Their ages were similar, but they had one thing in common: their soul light had all been carved. Even though they had long since guessed who did it, now that they saw the blood-colored decree with the name of the smuggler clearly written on it, it was equivalent to giving the most conclusive evidence. My uncle is Chu Feng. In the past few years, when the various sects were taking in disciples and inspecting the bones and souls of their disciples, they had all seen these words. All of them were stupefied. They didn't know what kind of situation had caused such a great commotion. Everyone already understood that Chu Feng smuggled himself over from the little underworld. It was most likely that he took advantage of a loophole on the way back then and carved quite a few words on them. Our group of people are exceptionally talented, and this is how we came to be? A few people were in a daze. They were all those who experienced it back then, or perhaps it could be said that they were the victims. In the recent few years, geniuses like them would make friends in secret from time to time. They were about to form an enormous organization. They believed that those with the words carved on their bodies were all on their side. They were innately unordinary and their roots were unimaginable. They were greatly related to that innate divine being, Chu Feng. In the end, the truth was revealed. Quite a few people were stupefied. Should they still revere Chu Feng? No matter how they looked at it, this demon Chu Feng wasn't honest and sincere back then. It was to the extent where he angered both man and God. Did he carve words on their bodies while he was smuggling himself over? Was he afraid of getting lost, or was he trying to take advantage of them? They simply wanted to beat him to death. At this moment, it was very easy for some of them to associate the scene of a certain someone visiting this place. They had always been proud of themselves for so many years. They established the enormous genius alliance and respected that Chu Feng of unknown origins as the immortal master. They viewed him as a divine being and treated him as a kind of faith. After all, to be able to bring runes into this world from birth was already considered a freak. They were all very proud and believed that they were the same kind of people. In the end, the truth was revealed. They really wanted to beat someone up and cripple that human trafficker. The group of people were grinding their teeth. Especially a group of young girls. How could something like a soul be touched by others? The group of people were at a loss as to whether or not they should chase after and kill Chu Feng. I feel that we still owe him a debt of gratitude. You see, there are runes on our soul light. They contain a special method that promotes our growth in the innate womb. We've obtained a lot of benefits. Someone said. They wanted to accept this reality. But there were also people who were at a loss. Could it be that this was the compensation he was giving after randomly writing and drawing? My faith in the immortal master hasn't changed. However, the so-called immortal master will only live in my heart from now on. It has nothing to do with that surnamed Chu in the outside world. I believe that we owe him a great debt of gratitude in the end. Did you guys notice that the runes on our soul lights are all breathing techniques? They can operate on their own and make us innately powerful. I also temporarily approve of him. Most people had complicated feelings towards Chu Feng. Some were grateful, and some wanted to beat him up. It was really difficult to describe their feelings. After some old monsters sensed this, they couldn't help but draw in a cold breath. If this genius alliance truly grew up, their future potential would be enormous and boundless. The most important thing was that they came from all over the world and were the core disciples of various sections. And if their influence radiated out, this alliance was bound to become a colossus in the future. There will come a day when that demon King Chu Feng won't be able to command the world because of this, right? Some old monsters were doubtful. In reality, Chu Feng had long since forgotten about this. If these geniuses didn't look for him in the future, they probably wouldn't even remember. Chu Feng became famous not only because he killed all the reincarnation hunters in this battle, but also because the core disciples of various sects were all involved with him. My uncle is Chu Feng. In the following period of time, every sect was bound to mention this sentence. If a sect didn't have this kind of disciple, then it couldn't be considered a famous sect. That was because those who had their soul lights carved in those years had innately stronger soul power than others. In addition to the nurturing from Chu Feng's runes, they were naturally all top-notch geniuses. Therefore, in a certain period of time in the future, when judging whether a sect was strong enough or not, one could tell a thing or two from whether they accepted this kind of special disciple as a disciple or not. Of course, the immortal master, the innate saint, Chu Feng, also attracted the attention of the world during a certain period of time because of this. In front of the realm wall, the expressions of the 13 almighty-level reincarnation hunters were stiff. Their facial skin almost didn't move and they were completely lifeless. One of them stared at the old man. You said that someone killed a few reincarnation hunters in the prehistoric era? This skeleton-like creature should be a human, but it was too decayed. When it moved, the joints in its body creaked. Yes, there is indeed such a person. His name is Li Su, and he's in Yin province. You can go and settle the score with him. Old Gu readily compromised and confessed. He was so efficient that he didn't even need to ask for details. Everyone in the surroundings was speechless. Some of the old monsters' facial muscles twitched. They really wanted to take revenge for Li Su and beat him to death. The 13 almighty experts didn't move. After hearing the news, they didn't pay this fellow any more attention. The old man guessed that they would probably have to ask the higher-ups to take action, or even the giants of this organization. Only then would they dare to find the ultimate prehistoric legend, Black Handley. Otherwise, even if a large group of almighty experts went, they would still die. Where is Chu Feng? The 13 almighty experts stared at the old man again. Yin Prefecture. He went to seek shelter with Li Su. The old man insisted, his tone extremely certain. Yin Prefecture was a special place. There was a door in the void, and during this period of time, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Golden arcs of electricity flew out from the door. This was the door connected to the great Een realm, and Li Su's stone coffin was behind this door. It was called the coffin that blocked the door, and it was very similar to a certain legend in history. The stone coffin was locked by several great Tao chains of different evolved civilizations. There was a person lying inside, and his entire body was covered in Tao patterns as if he was spinning a cocoon. In reality, this coffin was in the crack between the Yang realm and the Great Een realm, located in the area where the two realms intersected. At this time, the person in the coffin frowned because he heard someone holding his keepsake and calling out his name. Big brother, the reincarnation hunter is bringing up old scores and might come looking for trouble with you. In an instant, the person in the coffin understood everything with a single thought. He felt a toothache and he really wanted to go out and slap that bastard to death. Suddenly, there was a rumble from the direction of the Great Een realm. Een mist surged into the sky as a group of people slowly pressed forward on the cold and hard ground. They used special methods to cut open space and approach the stone coffin. The one in the lead was a woman with peerless style. Her long skirt fluttered in the wind, and her fine black hair danced in the wind. Her face was peerlessly beautiful, and her beautiful eyes were especially clear and spirited. Her eyelashes were very long, and her red lips and pearly teeth made her slender and graceful. Her skin was lustrous and white like suet jade. She was very quiet and without joy or worry. Her steps were light and agile, but there was also a certain kind of might under this kind of celestial fairy temperament. At the very least, the people around her were full of respect, as if she was the leader of a myriad of stars surrounding the moon. "Why have you all come here?" the person in the stone coffin asked. "According to the agreement, we're not here to fight, but to tour the mountains and rivers of the Yang realm. We're also here to watch the battle between the fallen immortal royal race and the pollen evolvers." Behind the woman, an old man spoke. There was actually an agreement, but it was unknown when it was made. The person in the coffin didn't care about the old man and the others. He only turned sideways and looked at the woman in the lead. "What's your name?" Clearly, the woman in the coffin was not ordinary. Ordinary people definitely couldn't enter the discerning eyes of the person in the stone coffin. "Yao Yao," the woman replied. "You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.